Hey, it's 10 a.m. and this is Utah's best sports radio.
Say my name.
You're locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, let's get it, folks. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard alongside the coach, Tim LaComb. Let's wake up some neighbors, folks. 10 a.m. Let's do it. How you doing, sir?
I'm going to be honest because I'm authentic.
Yes, that's what we do on this show. Very authentic.
I'm dragging teeny bit. I have fought the drag.
Yeah.
We all talked about it, but I'm getting juiced. The caffeine's doing its job. Kevin McKinney's in my ear, jamming out to waking up the neighbors, and I got my good pal Scotty to my left.
Great
Lloyd,
song, by the way.
Lloyd across the glass.
I might need to change up my playlist today. I don't know. It's a pretty good up-tempo list. I think it's got some stuff.
Go with it. Go with it.
Go with the first feeling.
There's no judgment around here, right, Lloyd?
No judgment zone.
Hey, I've never been one to judge, so no.
See, and he can't accept that. Like there was an impasse. The impasse was cleared.
Yes.
And accepted.
And we moved on.
And we've moved on.
Yes.
But somebody keeps tethering.
Little breaking news. John Marino is now on will be re-signing with the Utah Mammoth. An 8-year contract extension. Whew. Bill Armstrong will join us today at 11:45 to help break it down, but John Marino will be remaining with the Utah Mammoth on an 8-year extension. My goodness. But
they're very sure about that.
Yes.
You don't see 8-year anything. You don't even see 8-year marriages anymore.
No. What's the old 7-year itch gets most people.
See?
So.
I don't just pull those numbers out of the back of my hat.
I think overall marriages only have, about a 50% chance of success these days? Or maybe
I'll bet
less.
it's less. So for those of you still cranking and working on it, it is work. But I see you.
We see you.
Especially today, I see you.
So, yes, we got a busy show. So John Marino re-signing with the Utah Mammoth, and Bill Armstrong will join us coming up today at 11:45.
And John Marino will join Jake and Ben.
Ooh.
I believe in the 3 o'clock hour.
Nice. So, we need to get a Mammoth guy on once a week with us. Now, outside of Bill, Bill's awesome, and we love Bill. But I'm just saying, it'd be good to get a weekly with a player. And those guys, because hockey players are a lot of fun to talk to. NBA players, we set up, I remember back in the day, I set up this one-on-one, a weekly interview with Carlos Boozer and DJ and PK. It was Breakfast with Boozer. And it lasted a grand total of about, I want to say, 3 weeks before he just
Stopped calling.
And a couple times, I think breakfast was pretty cold.
Yes.
By the time he came around.
Oh, yeah. And then there was, when Locke was doing the show, we had a weekly with Darren, and Darren wasn't, Darren would call in, but he wasn't too overly interested in it. So you always kind of roll the dice with players. You're never really sure what you're going to get, but I feel a lot more comfortable with hockey guys than I do even NBA guys.
Nate Schmidt would be the man.
Yes.
He is fun.
He's funny.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes. He's sharp.
Joe Ingles did a nice job on it.
Oh, Joe absolutely did.
That segment was classic. You didn't see that much in the NBA, I wouldn't think. Stayed with that a long, long time and gave good stuff.
Well, okay, I'll give you a little background on the Joe Ingles thing. So Joe decided, the Jazz signed Joe, and it was just kind of like hey, he's good for the locker room kind of guy. And you knew immediately he was a very funny guy. And we weren't anticipating him being a decent player, just being a guy that's, the glue guy that makes everybody laugh, makes the locker room, because Quinn Snyder, ridiculously great coach. Quinn Snyder is very, very tightly wound. And so you need a little yin and yang in that locker room to try to balance him out a bit, because that dude is super duper intense. And so you need somebody to kind of bring everybody back down to earth a little bit. And so he fit that role nicely. So we thought, hey, let's bring him on weekly. He was down for it. And yes, we did pay him. You would be shocked at how little money we paid paid him because he was just now. Granted, he was making good money by average Joe standards, but he was making bare minimum NBA money when he signed with the Jazz. So he's making really no money by NBA standards. But he's like, I think it would be good to get out there in the community. I think it'd be good for people to understand who I am and share a little bit of my personality. So he starts coming on, and DJ and PK start egging him on, and he has fun with it. And then all of a sudden he becomes not just a fun player to have in the locker room, but an absolute integral player for those Jazz playoff teams. And so he gets to become better, and we're thinking, okay, either he's going to outprice us or he's just going to forget about it altogether. He keeps doing it. He doesn't even care about the rate. The rate stays the same for every year that he's here with the Jazz, and he'll still come on every now and then with those guys. And when the NIL thing kicked up, we had a predominant Utah player. I'll keep his name out of it, but a predominant Utah player that we were working with to try to get on once a week. And we were working through his agent, and his agent said, well, actually, he actually agreed to it in principle, and then said, oh, I'm going to need this much money. And we're like, wait, what? Excuse me now? Because the number was obscenely
like more
high.
than, yeah.
And they're like, well, look, you're in that world with the NBA players. And I'm like, guess how much money we pay Joe Ingles? That is a quarter, 25% of what you want for your guy. And they're like, no, that's not true. I'm like, what do you need? What do you need? I'll prove it to you. And anyway, we decided to pass on that individual player because it's like, no.
You want more than Joe Ingles is what you're telling me.
You want
Okay.
4 times
So
what
they
Joe Ingles is
dropped the
getting.
NBA as a
Yeah.
reference, and that was not a good
That
thing
did not
for them.
that did not work out
It
well.
was
for
not
them.
a well-argued.
Yeah.
That was not a well-argued point.
So there you go. A little background history.
That's cool to know. That's
But-
really cool to know. And I honestly, as a person just driving around and listening, I loved to get to know his personality and how funny he was. You could kind of see that then with your own eyes out on the bench and on the floor and with referees and
Oh, yeah.
stuff. You can only imagine the things he'd say because the FCC does require you to, keep it clean. And I don't know, man. I got a bunch of Australian friends, and
That
they
actually doesn't surprise
and
me.
they are foul-mouthed.
Oh, yeah,
most
no,
of them.
no,
I mean,
Joe-
there is something about that. You
Yeah.
know? Crikey! I have a bunch of European friends.
And a bunch of Australian friends.
I did that one because I know he's on his game the way he hit the laugh track.
Were you? Did you
was good.
overlap with Bogut?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know Bogut. So I was around, but I
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
with the
because
team.
you were with Jack's.
I was with the next team.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I started kind of being around that team toward the end and actually went down to Denver with them and hung around for the Mountain West tournament down there. And so it was cool to be around. But that guy, whew, he can get blue.
Who, Andrew?
Yeah, in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got after me once on Twitter because I wasn't quite sold on the Larry Kraskowiak hire.
Mm.
And this was, 2010 or 11. And obviously, Larry's a hell of a coach. But, I brought up some concerns that I had. And, boy, he's a big Larry Kraskowiak fan. And he came at me hard. I was like, hey, I'm just asking questions, man. Don't be too upset. By the way, the best arrangement we ever had for a weekly interview was Zane Beadles, who this was the year that the Broncos went to the Super Bowl. Got annihilated, yes, by the Seattle Seahawks in that Super Bowl, but he came on once a week as a member of the Broncos, and he didn't want a single penny. All of that money went right into a charitable foundation. So he's like, I will come on. I do not want to get paid for it, but I want that money to be going to this charitable organization, which
That's
I thought
really
was
cool.
really cool.
That's what I did with the money y'all paid me the last 5 years for coming on. I gave it to a charitable foundation.
You're such a good person.
I really am.
Called the LaComb Mortgage Benefit Fund.
The survival. Yeah, figure it out a way, Timmy, because life is crazy right now. That fund.
Bottom line is, there's a lot of athletes that are just genuinely good people.
For sure.
Then there is LeBron James. Let's kick it off. Starting lineup right now, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Cheers.
It's time to kick off the show with the biggest headlines of the day. This is your starting lineup on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Help me on this one.
I can't.
Help me.
I'm at the end of my rope
Look,
with this one.
When you've got Adam Silver begging you publicly, please make up your mind. There's betting odds. You've got national talking heads out there freaking out about where LeBron's going to go. Cavaliers plus 140, Heat plus 160, Golden State plus 500, Philadelphia plus 500. Those are just some of the odds out there. There's going to be some people in the LeBron camp that's going to make some money on the old gambling market on this thing, aren't they?
Hey, don't think for a second that isn't part of the strategy.
Oh, geez. Bottom line is this, though. Do we really care? Like, I don't care where LeBron plays. Look, I have a ton of admiration for LeBron James, the player. What he's been able to do, the numbers he's put up, all of that stuff. I have a ton of respect and love for LeBron James, the basketball player. Is he number one in my book? No, that'll always be Michael Jordan. Is he number two? Yeah, probably. But he's certainly top three or top four in my book. Some people have number one. I won't argue that with you. I'm not going to get into that conversation. But what I will say is, LeBron, just make up your mind. You know where you're going. We all know where you're going. Quit milking the spotlight on this thing because it's dumb. It's overplayed. You know where you're going. All you're doing is trying to work together some kind of deal that Kawhi Leonard got, but do it a little bit more on the down low. Whatever you're working through, that's fine. Just announce it and let's just get it over with.
And, the other thing that just gets, put out there as well is you get to see and hear a bunch from Rich Paul.
Yes.
Who just happens to be another guy you'd stick on that Mount Rushmore. It's getting crowded, however. I guess it'll change daily. We can put a bad sports Mount Rushmore. He's always playing the games. I mean, the whole situation with LeBron right now is orchestrated. And, when asked about it, his comment yesterday is he's not going to be rushed. LeBron James will not be rushed.
Yes.
How hard is it, man, to make a decision?
Yeah, it's not hard.
And I do believe that this is all the narrative is this is the way you get everybody's eyes on you, LeBron. This is the way that at 49 you're still relevant. I don't know how old he is. Is he 43?
Somewhere around there, yeah, 43, 44.
So what he is to me right now, and I'm with you, Jordan's my number one. But when Jordan went to the Wizards, he was not that guy.
No.
And so Wizards LeBron, regardless of where you're going, just tell us and get over it because we got other things to do. There's other guys in the league now, and you wonder how long it'll go on.
LeBron James, of course, this is classic LeBron, saying that not only is he not sure where he's going to play next year, but he might be playing more than just 1 year.
When I'm done, I'll be 24, 25 years in, 26 years, who knows, whatever, when I'm done. Like, there's no way I can fill that void, but I can now focus myself on other things that I want to do and continue to do what I've been doing, continue to build on what we've been doing as a company. So I got a pretty good documentary in the works, too, so.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it is going to be electric when I'm done with it.
Oh, my gosh. It's like
is his
saying,
goal just to be the most unlikable NBA player
and by
of
the
all
way,
time?
It's like we need to talk about, what we're building as a business. And look, yeah, he's built a monstrous business. The business of LeBron James is far greater and far more powerful than LeBron James, the basketball player. Yes, that's true. But now you're just milking it for some. And by the way, we've got a documentary in the works. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Oh man, I hope that documentary. I hope that thing, whatever film that thing's on or whatever cloud it's in, comes crashing down and all that footage is just lost. Like I want that footage of this documentary to go up in smoke like the Hindenburg. Nobody with it, just the film or just the files, whatever. I don't want that thing to see the light of day. I do not want to see a LeBron James puff piece a documentary produced by you love documentaries.
I do.
But you don't like documentaries produced about someone, produced and filmed and directed by that person.
No, I mean, I was disappointed in the Jordan one, honestly.
An auto documentary.
Right.
Yeah.
As much as I love Jordan, and, you hear the things that got cut, the things that because of petty things he wouldn't let in. It's, to me, like we're all old enough, we can make our own determination. I mean, go ahead and make the documentary, but I certainly am not going to be one that's running to digest it, at least me personally, because this thing is, at this point, like, to actually have it as part of the plan and talk about it. Jordan didn't say that in the last year. I mean, maybe he had no concept, but everything this guy's doing is just trying to, in my mind, hijack the spotlight, and the game's got to move on at a certain point. The Lakers have done it, thank goodness. I mean, I'm sure that they feel 1,000 pounds lighter as an organization because, it's like when he came available and Locke asked me, would you take him? Would you want him? Hell no. You want all this here? You want his documentary and his timeline and his everything in front of what the team and the organization needs, because that's what it becomes. It's why his organizations are ripped by the end. It's why they have to all turn things over, and what the Lakers just had to do for 8 years of it and one championship that was done
in a bubble.
Unlike any other. I mean, I'll give him the title, but I do want to at least say that it was done in a place.
It'll always have an asterisk
where you didn't have to travel, and that would have impacted an old guy. Mm-hmm. I am constantly reminded in sport, and this is another instance of the Emperor's New Clothes. That the story of the Emperor's New Clothes, and that really the power of collective delusion. And if you scream it loud enough and you get it in enough outlets, then it's hey, this is what it is.
Well, the thing that, and again, we're pretty transparent. We got, ever since I got into this business and I started doing sports radio in this market 20 years ago, there's an old adage, and it's about a music radio station. Their thing was music radio stations do not create hit songs. They play hit songs. So most of them will wait for a song to become a hit by being told by music executives what is going to be the hit. They play that hit, and it's always comes back to play the hits. All right? Don't create the hits, you play the hits. And so we've been told many, many years by many consultants across the country, when it comes to sports radio, play the hits. All right? There's a reason why we didn't spend a ton of time talking about World Cup soccer, because it doesn't necessarily move the meter in terms of people wanting deep down analysis. They want to watch a game, sure. They want to be entertained. But do they want you and I or DJ or PK or Jake and Ben to spend 3 or 4 long 20, 25-minute segments talking about it? Not really. They'll tune out. So we do a lot of research, try to figure out what those hits are. The problem is that LeBron is a bit of a hit, and so we talk about LeBron, and that keeps LeBron relevant, and then everybody gets sick about LeBron, but we also know that people still listen and want to hear about LeBron James, and it just kind of feeds on itself, and LeBron knows that, and so he's out there with the national media saying, hey, guess what? I don't know where I'm going to go, but there's going to be a great documentary, and everybody's just gobbling it up.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
I mean, we've got McAfee on in the background here, and the audio, obviously isn't on, but they've gone ever since about a half hour before the show started, and now 20 minutes into our show, and it's all just been about LeBron James. Where's LeBron going to go? What are the gambling odds? Where's LeBron going to play? How does he fit in with Philadelphia? It just feeds on itself to the point where people are like, wait a minute, do I really want to know about this? Well, that's what I'm being fed, so apparently that is what I want to know about, so I guess I need to consume more of this. And everybody just kind of just keeps feeding off each other, and LeBron's just there raking in the money and the attention off of the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. I think when the NBA, in order to make the next step, back in the 80s, they really did a great job at starting to market the individual player.
Yeah.
But, with every great thing, you hear the term double-edged sword. I mean, obviously now the league really is about personalities more than anything. And, I love getting to know guys, but in my mind, I think LeBron, he saw the opportunity back when he came on the scene, certainly grabbed it by the throat, and he's just not ready to let it go. I mean, he can't, there's talking about documentaries. There's a lot of documentaries about people, whatever it is, whether it be broadcasting or, coaching or entertaining. I mean, David Lee Roth could probably take a book out of when to stop, right? I think he's actually in town tonight.
Is he really?
Yes, at the Depot. But he was incredible back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, he's a shell of himself. And, he just doesn't have anybody around him to say, bro, at your age, the leather pants, the tattoos, you might want to think about shutting her down. And
you showed me some footage of him the other day.
It's not good.
It's just, it almost is heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking in a lot of ways. Exactly. And, but he still, like LeBron, still thinks, this is all about me. And so it's going to be a slow, sure thing, but he's going to slowly start to dwindle in importance. But in terms of relinquishing the crown, that's where that danger of vanity and self-importance, again, from the emperor's new clothes comes back in. Never take yourself too seriously. I mean, and that's why I love guys that, that are in the sports, that is where we started things, that, that actually are people.
Yeah.
And they're not just manipulated through the years to basically see how much money they can get.
All right, 1025, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You can hear from Rich Paul coming up next, who's been managing the business of LeBron James for a long, long time. Coming up a little bit later on, Bill Armstrong will join us at 11:45. It's all straight ahead. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top. As the Mammoth and the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. When it comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Yeah, Scotty.
Great song. I love the fact that the Party Hounds did this.
We did. I mean, back in the day, I could hit that as a young lad.
Yeah.
I think I can still muster it if I get enough breath. It's all about breathing.
Get the old diaphragm.
Well, you don't. You woke up and you're like, yeah, would these golden tones work for you, like young baby?
No. See, like I don't have like. All right, so
you have a really good voice.
God didn't give me a lot to work with, but He gave me a pretty good voice. So I'm going to listen to it.
You had me at hello.
But
I don't even need to play it. You just went verbatim. What do I need the drop for? What are you doing?
But I don't have any range,
You probably don't need headset. I just like to hear myself. Hey, look, God didn't give me a lot to work with, but He gave me a pretty good voice, so I'm going to listen to it.
God, that's got to be about 7, 8 years old.
Oh, no, that's longer than that.
Is that longer than that?
Like,
we were over there. It was back when we used to do teases.
Yeah, and it was...
we were getting ready to do a tease. Maybe we were recording an interview.
It was like... No, because we didn't need... I was telling Hans he didn't have to put a headset on.
Oh, so it was a tease.
Because I'm like, I'm putting a headset on because I got a pretty good voice. I want to listen to it. But you don't need a headset. See, that's the thing.
You don't.
That's the problem,
You sounded like you had a little more Brody swagger back then.
Yeah, a little bit. Anyway, back to the point. I don't have a lot of range, though. Like, I can't belt a high note like that. I got a nice little sweet spot where my voice is. And that's why I don't do karaoke, because I can't go too high, I can't go too low. I'm just right there in the middle.
Are you you sing in church, I assume? You grab the hymnal and sing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The signed hymnal.
Okay,
yeah.
So 10 on a scale of volume, 10 being, because there are 10s that go to church.
Yeah, no.
And if you're out there, I'm looking at you.
Yes.
The lady or dude in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're giving it to you. Or the 5.
The Spirit of God like a fire is burning. Yeah,
burning.
We hear you.
The church is burning down, bro.
Yeah.
Give it a rest. And then 1.
On a normal Sunday, I'm like at a 2.5.
So you're just kind of above a hum.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
I'd probably do about a 1.5. That's where I'd be. Yeah,
Enough to know, like, because you got to let your kids know that you're actively participating because you demand that from them.
Yes.
So you got to put in a little effort so that they know. But I will say, as soon as we're empty nesters, I'm going to go like at a 0.5 or may not even open up the book at that point.
You just kind of nod like,
just
I know
you're gonna color on those eyeballs that makes it look like you're awake.
Maybe do that maybe do a little watermelon thing. Yeah.
Lloyd, you could be the pipe organ. You got such low range. You could be just.
True story. Got on the elevator yesterday. The guys, I was talking to somebody on the phone, and then I hurried up and hung up. And he goes, "Are you on the radio?" I said, "You're dang right I am."
I'm glad you said dang. And then
it was
exactly.
8. No, I said the other thing. I said the other thing.
Were they going to 8?
No, they were going to. They were actually heading only into 3.
Oh, okay.
I knew it wasn't. I was like,
you can.
I can get away with
that. You can curse with with the 3s.
Well, I did.
Mere peasants.
Yeah, you go to 8, you got to be like, "Sir, please, may I have another?" I would never curse.
What button? May I push a button for you, sir?
Yes.
Oh, you've already pushed 8. I'll stop talking.
I will keep my head down. We will not make eye contact. Rough day at the old ESPN after they acquired a good chunk of the NFL Network. People are getting laid off right and left. Carl Ravitch, who has been at ESPN since 1993, let go. Cam Newton, that breaks your heart. He's been let go. Ryan Clark got let go in the middle of his show because they didn't want him to find out on Twitter. And so they brought him in the middle of his show, NFL Prime or NFL, whatever that show is he's on, and they let him go in the middle of his show. I don't know what's worse, letting a guy find out he's been let go on Twitter or just bringing him in and saying, hey, he's like, well, look, I got that C block I got to come out there for. Yeah, we got you through the A block, and you're done now. No, like I can finish the. No, we mean like you're done. Like
that earpiece, you actually don't need to put it back.
Yeah,
in.
you actually need to hand over your equipment to us. Bring your laptop, but they're still taping. Laura Rutledge and Mina Kimes and all those people are out there. Yeah, they're fine. Don't worry about them. But you got.
But I've got my nautical jacket on.
I've got my
nautical
whatever that
patch
is with my initials.
And I'm
brooch.
And I've borrowed the skipper's hat from Gilligan. I mean, he put some outfits together, you guys.
Him and Cam Newton, they got some wardrobe people that are going to be really nervous right now because they've been keeping some people in business.
The San Diego Zoo's looking for a peacock, and I think it's in Cam's hat. I think it was stolen and the feathers plucked.
Those hats are unique.
They are very unique.
All right, so but Ryan Clark has made a statement. And so Lloyd, try to figure out how many honks we can work into this statement. All right? You ready? Proof of life. Before the madness of yesterday, I woke up, got in my Tundra, drove to Planet Fitness, got in a long workout. The rest of the day was eventful, but the journey continues. My peace is with God, and my humility comes from within. The realization I've had a long NFL career. I'll continue to build myself so the world can never strip me of what's real, and I can continue to contribute to the world. Get moving today, y'all. All right, so I'm a Tundra. I got my workout in.
That was a definite needed a honk.
The Planet Fitness, that everybody can probably get a membership to Planet Fitness.
He said long though, right?
Yeah, long workout. Yeah,
that's where I'd honk him.
And he did. Oh, and by the way, this did include a video of him working out. My peace is with God. My humility comes from within. The realization I've had a long NFL career. I'll continue to build myself so the world can never strip me of what's real, and I can continue to contribute. Because that's what we're like, how can Ryan Clark continue to contribute to our overall well-being as a society? That's the most important thing that we all are looking forward to learn. I don't want to, I never, ever, ever, ever look down on somebody losing a job. I mean, that is horrific. But for a guy that had a long NFL career that got paid millions and millions and millions of dollars and was being paid $2 million by ESPN a year, and I'm sure got a nice little payout from ESPN, not too overly concerned for him. Carl Ravitch, I feel bad for. Now, Carl, I will not be throwing dirt on anybody's grave. That's just a guy that's just been busting it for a long time. Company guy doing whatever's been asked of him. Not an NFL guy before, just came in and did all the right things and worked his way up the food ladder. I will never say anything bad about that guy.
No, Ravitch is like the rest of us, just got in and started working.
Yeah, just put his head down.
Kind of went his way. So good for him in terms of his career. I'm glad he didn't put a big old thing together. I'm with you. I don't celebrate Ryan losing his job. I was not a huge fan of his style. Having guys on the set that come at it from a different angle didn't play, and he was always quick to demean their opinions, which I didn't love. By just basically saying that's why you didn't play, you didn't know, you don't know. And the other thing that he seems to me is the type of guy that if you called him and said, you're an amazing dude, he'd say, I know,
aren't I?
I mean, that's what he would say.
You're dang right I am.
I would say, you're amazing, and he would say, I know.
Tom Polisaro also laid off. Part of the cuts. Just hate that stuff, man.
Ravitch did a great job on hockey.
Yeah,
loved him in hockey.
Alex, by the way, tried to dupe us. He said, "Oh, LeBron signed a deal." He got duped by somebody.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Said double check. Fake shams.
Yeah,
I've been fake shammed before.
It happens.
Yeah, be careful about that. We had Christian Cox once said that Tim Miles had been fired. He was just a year early. Eventually, less Miles. Yeah,
Miles.
Tim Miles at San Jose State, great basketball coach. Bad situation, but great basketball.
He was so quick to go. Oh, breaking news! I got breaking news. Les Miles has been fired. We're like, whoa, that's huge.
No. On the air?
Yes. Oh yeah, this was on the air.
No vet.
Yeah.
Just leave that to us, Christian. We got you.
See, I'm putting a note in my head. Don't ever do that.
Yeah. For those out there that get laid off that don't have NFL pensions in their back pocket, thoughts are with you, man. That sucks. I just hope, Lloyd, when the day comes and you give us the axe, either do it before the show or after the show, but don't do it in the middle of the show.
I keep looking at the door now.
Okay.
Because I thought I was safe once the clock started. It reminds me of a funny story Mark Pope told me when we were working together. He said he was always, when cuts would come around and if you could make it through a certain time, you'd get paid. He would literally get lost. So he'd go to practice. He would leave the building without showering. He'd drive around and drive around until he saw the cars were gone, and then he'd go in and change. I mean, he would do all of these different things, that you could try to do to not get fired.
Pace Mannion had a great story about because he was the same thing in the league, just hanging on for dear life, and he had to get to a certain point of the season, and the rest of the year would be guaranteed. And he was like, he was telling me like expenses were adding up, and he was having kids, and he was just scared to death. And that whole day, the day of the game, he goes to shoot around. He's expecting somebody to tap on his shoulder. He goes home. He's waiting for the phone call. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. He goes to the game, and he's in pregame warmups, and he's expecting somebody's going to pull him aside, said, no, we're not doing this. During the national anthem, he's looking around, and finally he sits down, and they have the opening tip-off, and as soon as that ball goes up in the air, he stands up and just starts clapping and going, woo, doing like a Tiger Woods fist bump, because he's awesome. Like, the game's underway. I'm guaranteed the rest of the year.
I love that. It's a great story. Great story. And, there are a bunch of people out there. It doesn't matter what profession, you're just hoping for a break.
Yeah.
So I got to know Pace through the years being up at Utah. What a good dude. Funny, obviously competitive.
Best, yeah.
He'll talk trash to you, all that good stuff. But, man, enjoyed getting to know him. And I really, as a younger guy, I loved watching him play. He was everything that was right. He was a hustle guy. He was all about team.
It was funny. Spencer Nilsson was going down to watch some AAU basketball, and I'm like, hey, keep an eye on this kid named Nico. He's like, isn't he just a freshman? I'm like, yeah, but you may want to keep an eye on him. After the practice, he calls me up. He's like, yeah, I offered him. It's like, yeah,
Done.
yeah, I saw that. And, boy, he's killing it overseas right now.
Yeah, he's doing great. He's doing absolutely great. You know, he came into the league around the time that the smaller guard was starting to diminish.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's doing great over there. And he was born overseas, so he has that dual citizenship, which works out awesome.
The old golden ticket.
That's right.
All right, what you may have missed coming up next, Scott Garrard, the coach, Tim LaComb, coming up a little bit later on, busy show. We'll talk to Bill Armstrong at 11:45, Bryan Fischer at 12:05, and as we continue to make our tour around upcoming opponents for Utah and BYU this season, we'll check in with the Huskies as they will actually be squaring off against Utah State as they will play host to the Aggies. Christian Caple, writer for the University of Washington, will join us coming up at 1:05. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard, the coach, Tim LaComb. Time for another edition of What You May Have Missed right here on the Zone. Oh, hey, by the way, LeBron still hasn't made up his mind. Wait, no, still hasn't.
No, that was fake shams.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of that going on.
Oh, yeah. By the way, where did Fake Shams have him going? Was it Cleveland?
76ers.
76ers.
Talked to our guy TJ last week.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I feel like that's a place he does not want him to land.
No.
He wants to have a life.
No, the LeBron circus comes to town as a beat writer, you're screwed.
He's like,
but he
said,
could
if it
work his
happens,
way into
I
the
won't
documentary.
see my wife for another year.
Yeah.
He could work his way in to the documentary, like the greatest documentary of all time. It's in the works.
Of all time, folks. I mean, look, I don't know if a documentary was on his mind until the Jordan one came out. I bet he's like, we got to do that now. We have to put out something like that. We have to document this thing. He may be actually still playing another year of basketball just for the sheer purpose of creating a documentary. Like, he might be retired right now. But he's like, we got to get that. We got to get some footage.
I mean, that's, again, the worldwide reach that can then understand the GOATism of LeBron.
Hey, you and I were hanging out in Frisco a couple of weeks ago at Big 12 Media Day. I will be heading back there for some basketball. Utah State will be part of a tournament. Well, not really. I guess I shouldn't say a tournament. It's called the College Classic, Texas Legends College Classic, presented by Kia. Kind of a round-robin game. Utah State will play basketball there December 19th against Tulsa, and then December 21st against George Washington. So maybe not necessarily the who's who of basketball, but it's a MTE, and it's in Frisco, Texas, which I don't hate spending a couple days down in Texas.
Two sneaky good teams from time to time.
Yeah.
George Washington can put a roster together. You never know, I guess, in NIL era ever. Everybody's getting a little bit more talent. So regardless, that sounds like a great tournament and a good place. You'll know the lay of the land.
Yeah. BYU announces its 2026-2027 non-conference schedule for basketball. They will open up I believe this will be an exhibition game against Nebraska in Provo on October 18th. And then it will begin at UNLV in Vegas, October 24th. They'll take on Ohio State in the Delta Center. Then Omaha, Queens, Montana State, Northern Colorado, all in Provo. Then they'll play the Southwest Maui Invitational, November 23rd through the 25th. Then home against Northwestern. I believe that one also in the Delta Center. Utah State in Provo, Cal State Fullerton in Provo, Weber State in Provo. Then they'll go to Palm Springs, California to play San Diego State, and then LaSalle in Provo. So not a bad schedule at all. I like the fact that you got Utah State, Weber State back on the schedule, San Diego State on the schedule. And then UNLV, I like that. Ohio State in the Delta Center. Northwestern every now and then can be pretty good. So good schedule.
That is a great schedule. I really like it. And, this team is going to be interesting because Colin Chandler kind of made his name out at Kentucky. He's coming back to join Rob Wright, who just scored 101 points in a pickup game, which was awesome. I don't know if I'd be more impressed. I think I'd be more impressed if I heard he had 10 assists.
Yeah.
Than 101 points. Rob Wright, they just actually announced a signing today as well. A Polish big man, 6'9", Jakub Urbaniak, and he's a 23-year-old Polish forward center. Was actually born in Spain, but has Euro Cup experience. So he's definitely a guy who comes in with know-how and experience. One interesting thing, he shot 34% from three-point range in 35 Euro Cup games. So known as an athletic, high-motor big man. 6'9", probably right on the edge of being big enough, right at the 5. But if he plays really hard, we saw it with Kei Bakeda. Doesn't matter necessarily how big you are, you can impact plays at the rim.
Yeah. So BYU putting the finishing touches on their roster to go along with the schedule as well. So there you go. Interesting. I think BYU's got a chance to be really good. I think all across the board, I think Alex has got things kind of narrowed in a little bit with what he's got going on at the University of Utah. I think it could be another banner year in the state.
I think this will be actually Kevin's probably his toughest year. I think they knocked it out of the park in year one, getting the guys they got. But Yegor was huge to come over from overseas, have the experience, be able to kind of develop on the fly. But I thought he was great for them. And then last year, you get the best player in the country. Really a shame he didn't win the Naismith Award. He probably should have. But the dude was great. And, he's a guy who now we get to go watch. But now they bring in a guy in Bruce Branch who's a little bit younger, not quite as high level from my understanding. If the draft were today, he'd probably be in the 15 range.
Yeah. In the lottery or outside the lottery, just right there on that edge. Yeah.
So he can play his way in, obviously. Yeah. Love his frame, love everything I'm hearing about him. But I just don't know that they've got, they've got the playmaking, and I understand Rob's back, and he'll score a lot of points for them, but I hope the ball can move a little more this year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know that the dude can score, and he'll need to score at times, but also I think if he has his sights on the NBA, he's got to show an ability to be a facilitator too.
Yeah, for sure. And last year, to his credit, there's probably not a lot of dudes standing out there that he felt confident could knock a shot in. But this year, hopefully with Chandler down there, hopefully Baker's a little more healthy and can play. It'll look more like a well-rounded BYU team. With
Richie Saunders getting injured, that really changed a lot of how they had to manage him and what he was expected to do.
Yeah, as big as AJ was, as big as Rob was, that was Richie's team. I think those guys rallied around Richie. I think Richie was the engine. And when he was no more, it was hard. I think they looked around like, man, where's our engine?
Yeah.
He's over there in street clothes like Anthony Davis.
How are we going to get this thing going? Hey, Richie. Oh, no, Richie's not here to get us going.
Yeah, but, that the game that will stand out to me, they play without him, that Iowa State game, and AJ was phenomenal. They played so inspired, right? And that's what I'm excited. Hopefully they can get a group that will really play inspired, play hard on both ends together, get the defense playing better. I think the offense has always been really fun to watch with Kevin there.
Yeah. All right, 11 o'clock, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Bill Armstrong joins us for a conversation. John Marino has signed a contract extension to remain with the Mammoth, an 8-year contract extension. So we will chat about that and especially the length. I think that's one thing we're all trying to wrap our brain around a little bit is the length of contracts in the NHL. 8 years for John Marino. We'll talk about that with him coming up at 11:45 next hour, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The best sports radio in Utah is right here, right here. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I thought this would get you going.
I love that one. Dude.
A little Fine Young
That's
Cannibals.
a pull.
Yeah.
That's a pull. Very good.
I'm still we're still working through my 80s playlist. I put a ton of 80s songs on there.
It's making me smile.
Yeah. Fine Young Cannibals had I think 2 songs. She Drives Me Crazy, and then this one.
I love that one too.
And then that was about it.
But they were just wacky. I couldn't quite figure out if they were from the Outback. I wasn't sure what their story was.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard alongside the coach, Tim LaComb. Hey, make sure to win big this Wednesday. It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. We got a pair of tickets. Again, don't call in right now. Wait till tomorrow. We got a pair of tickets. See Post Malone with special guest Jelly Roll and Carter Faith at Rice-Eccles Stadium on July 28th. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com, or get your tickets today and listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day tomorrow for your chance to win. Come on.
Have we ever tried to get Posty on?
I think we've tried. I don't think it's quite gone through.
He hasn't gone anywhere.
I went to that show last year. I would recommend it for those of you on the fence.
And Jelly Roll, by the way, Jelly Roll has gotten all svelte. He's all thin now.
He is. He looks great. He was in process, I think, last year when he was here. But they put on a great show. It's really
Jelly
fun.
Roll is highly underrated. And he puts that dude's lived some he's been through some things.
He's been through some things, sings a lot about it.
Yeah. And I respect that. I like that when guys are like, you know what? I'm an open book. Let's sing about it, shall we? LeBron James is trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. All he knows is that when it's over, it's over. And I got to imagine that's got to be tough for guys when they realize that I don't have much of an identity outside of the game of basketball. Like LeBron James, he's dabbled in movies. Obviously, he's going to make documentaries about himself.
Shows.
He's done game shows. Like, he's done a lot of things. But LeBron James, at his core, is a basketball player. And when it's over, there's got to be, regardless of how popular you are or how much money you have in the bank, there's got to be a little bit of a fear of, what do I do with my life? Because this is all I've been doing my entire life. Like, that's it. That's all I've ever been known for. That's all I've ever done. That's all I've ever been good for, is to play basketball. And I try to get into other areas and try to broaden my horizons, but not nearly, even remotely as close as successful as it comes to, playing hoops. And so, yeah, there's probably a hard come to Jesus moment where you got to realize, do I have any value? Do I have any worth to this world outside of playing basketball? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this too much. I can see how it would be difficult to walk away from for selfish reasons.
I do too. And I got no issue with, he may just be like, how Tony talks about everywhere he goes, TJ, he talks everywhere he goes and finds a pickup game. He's in Vegas playing at Tarkanian. His 24-hour fitness games are of lore, right? Like, there's stories written about those types of things.
By the way, have you seen Tony play?
I've not.
Lloyd, have you? I've never actually seen him play. He talks a big game.
No, I have. I haven't seen him play since we had the media event with. Why am I going?
Oh, the
preseason media event that they had, and where they beat the heck out of all the media members to show
their dominance.
How unathletic a lot of them really are. No, I haven't seen them since.
What makes you guys worthy of commenting on our guys? We see how bad you are.
Nice shot, Fake Jones. Yeah. No, I think Tony can actually play. I do. I think I've heard enough people. Like, I know Driz plays with him a little bit. T Driz out there, if you're out there, hello. So I just think, I think if he loves it and he can't leave it, that's fine. But the saga, that's where you lose me. The documentary and Don't Rush Me. And look, man, you were the biggest thing in the game.
Still are. Like, by the way, you're
still big.
You're still big. That's never going to change.
No, you're never going to change. But, like, look, man, it's hard. But relinquish a little bit of that and let this thing fly, and you just hang on too. That's fine, but don't make it about you.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid he's not. This may not be it, dude. I mean, he may be holding on for some time here.
He might be holding on for one more kid to get into the NBA.
I know.
I got a kid in Arizona. Is going into his, sophomore year?
He's like, what? He's probably negotiating that in his deal. I'm going to play 3 years, and
Get
draft
all my kids
son.
on the same team.
He's like, he's LeVar Ball with
Oh, geez.
a little more power.
Wow. That would be a problem.
What if you put all the Balls and the LeBrons and the Jameses on a team? The outcasts.
That would be, you just call them the villains because everybody hate them. Like everybody would hate that team.
And they'd have a hard time getting there if LaMelo was driving. I mean, everybody thinks he's just going to. I'm worried about him on that ice. And I'm worried. Charlotte, very few times, I would think, has ice. Minnesota, much of the winter ice. He's wrecking when there's not ice.
Yeah, no. I lived in North Carolina for a couple of years. And every now and then there'll be an ice storm, and that place would come to a screeching halt.
But like once in a year, once every couple of years?
Yeah. But boy, when it hits, those folks are in trouble.
But Minnesota, that's just the price of waking up, right?
Oh, man. We had a good friend of ours, Matt Thomas, who used to be a sports radio guy here in Utah.
Oh, I like Matt, yeah.
Matt's a great dude. Went to Minnesota and literally left the city, left his job because he could not handle the weather. And now he's down in Houston. He's the voice of the Rockets.
Twins? He's doing something with the Twins,
with the Twins.
Yeah.
And had a really great gig brewing there in Minneapolis and just was like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot do the winters. Now, he parlayed that into a great gig down in Houston where he's doing awesome work. But he's like, I would rather be in 95-degree heat with 95% humidity than dealing with these winters.
That's why, like any LeBron, I saw Minnesota on the list. There ain't no chance. He'd have to wear way too many clothing. He needs to be LeBron.
Yeah. No, there's no way he's going to Minnesota.
I still think Miami, dude.
There's no way he's staying in the West.
I think Miami.
Yeah. I'll go Cleveland.
I'm with you. I still think it lands back in Cleveland.
Nobody cares, finishing. But of course we're making a projection just for the hay of it.
Yeah. We doing drinks on this?
Yeah.
So, You know what? I'll take Philly, just so that we're all separate.
I told TJ that's what it was going to be.
I'll take Philly just to annoy TJ if that happens. You've got Cleveland, and you've got Miami.
South Beach. It's going to come all the way back to the decision.
I like how he's like, I went back to Cleveland because of my hometown. I went back to Miami because of this. Now I just want to do it for me. This is his breakdown of why he's choosing where he's going.
This is the third time I've been a free agent. Obviously, in 10, when I made a decision to go to Miami, I had my reasons. When I went back to Cleveland in 14, I had my reasons. So actually, this would be the fourth. And then when I went to LA 8 years ago, I had my reasons. So, for me now, I have an almost 22-year-old son who is now my former teammate, which is hilarious. I have a 19-year-old son that's at the University of Arizona. It's my almost 12-year-old daughter who is pulling the weight a lot, So going to my daughter, I was home for the 4th of July, and my daughter came home after being out with her friends and cousins and everything, and I pulled her to the side because she's up as of age now. So like anytime I leave, she's like, Dad, where you going? Like, I'm going with you. Like, where we going? I pulled her to the side, and I was like, baby, I'm letting you know, I don't want you to hear from nobody else, but I won't be playing for the Lakers next year. I will be playing somewhere else, so I won't be home all the time. You may not have an answer right now. You can give me an answer now. You can wait. You can write it down. Just want to know how you're feeling about it because you mean a lot to me. Me being away from you means a lot, so the family portion is a big thing too. My daughter and my wife and things of that nature, and I'm a big family guy. So there's a lot of things that's, people are like, hurry up and make a decision, Brian. It's like, okay, it's not just about the team. Yeah. There's so many other factors that I'm, factoring in right now on what, not only best fit me as a player, what best fit me as a person, what best fit me as what my happiness, and also with my family as well. But the family portion is huge for me.
I hope that's all true. I hope it's true.
The one thing I will say is you have not seen him in the midst of much controversy.
No, never with trouble with the law.
And very supportive. Summer after summer being down in Vegas, it was basically the summer thing that LeBron's in the building. He's coming to watch his son play. So I do think that, I buy him at his word there. I do think that, and that's actually a piece of him I really respect, is he's been able to, as much as he seeks the spotlight and all that, he's been able to keep things out of the headlines.
Yeah.
Keep anything out of the news that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. I mean, look, you go through the list of players, everybody's kind of got their story. Certainly we know about Kobe.
Yeah, I mean, think of the number of masseuses he's worked with, the people he's talked to. No, I mean, through the entire career, and we haven't heard a peep.
Not a word.
Yep.
Not a word.
So I love that.
And so, props to him on that. He seems like he is a family guy. I mean, look, when you actually alter an NBA draft to make sure that your son plays with you, that's being the ultimate family man right
love.
there, right?
It's like stacking your city all-star team.
Sacrificing a championship just because of that.
I know there's a border between these two cities, but I want that kid as my pickup pitcher, so I'm going to rent an apartment in the district. He's the super dad.
So there you go. But ultimately, LeBron will not be rushed because Rich Paul says, hey, we're going to take our time on this one.
None of these people know anything. Nobody knows nothing. And I say that respectfully because we haven't made it to where anybody knows anything. I think it's important for people to understand we're not making this about attention and a spectacle. It's not about a decision or anything like that. He has a choice to make. He has a business choice to make. We're not going to sit here and decide or allow someone else to decide when he makes that decision or that choice. It's a business choice that he's making. And I think as an athlete, why is it that an athlete has to rush his choice? From a business perspective, you are making a choice between jobs, high-level jobs, and you've earned the right. You're a big-time executive that's with an unbelievable, arguably the best resume in the history of your job. Who's rushing you?
Okay.
Nobody.
Okay, man.
There's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack there. First off, it is about the attention. It is.
Respectfully, you're all idiots.
Respectfully,
With all due
none
respect.
of you know anything. I like that, like, we. And I know Rich Paul's a big part of the LeBron James camp. Probably your number one guy in that camp. But still, bro, this we stuff's got to stop. Like, LeBron, it's LeBron's decision, not our decision. It's his decision. The other thing, too, is I'm going to give him this. I feel weird doing this, but if I'm LeBron James and I have Adam Silver call me up like, hey, man, we got our schedule put together. We really need to make a decision. And that's the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to take my time now. Because, Adam, you need me a lot more than I need you. And so if it means I'm going to tack on an extra week or two, so, and it's going to put your nerds that put the schedule together in a little bit of a bind, then I'm just going to enjoy it a little bit more. That part I'm going to give LeBron because I don't want Adam Silver, of all people, coming and barking at me about making my decision.
I loved how he said, that he's an executive and, he's going to take this time and what's to rush him. Well, a schedule. Like everybody, athletes do have big decisions to make, but, typically there's a window that you make those decisions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And again, it's not like you're not the young up-and-coming star. You're the aging guy that's holding on for dear life. Just pick the team that you think you're going to be able to enjoy the most. And if your past is any indication, pick the team you think you can win a title with.
Yeah.
Join a super team, which is why I think he's going to Miami. I think in his mind, he thinks Giannis and Bam can do damage. Let's see it.
Is that the best place he can go to win a title? I still don't think that team wins a title.
No, I don't either.
But if you're just looking at, throw Golden State, throw Philly, throw Cleveland in the mix, I think that might be the best shot. Even though I don't think it does, I do think odds are that gives him the best shot of winning a title.
I think in perfect world, Philly.
Yeah.
with Jaylen Brown, those two young dynamic
I
guards.
do forget about
Embiid,
Jaylen Brown, yeah.
right? I mean, that's pretty. And then LeBron just to kind of be, I guess he could be the alpha on that team. Maybe Embiid needs it, right? Start getting that dude to play a little more. I don't know. So I'd probably say Philly, then Miami. Cleveland has no chance regardless.
No.
I just don't think he's going to do that. I think he just going back there, although it would be a compelling piece of the documentary if that's what we're doing.
Him and Harden hanging out.
I'm going home, man.
But then again, it's like going home again. You start there, you go back there,
Full circle, though.
and then you go back again. It's like, I don't know.
That's a figure eight.
Yeah. Hey, you're exactly right.
Which is infinity, which is what we may be dealing with. You drive around town and see all the infinity signs.
It just never ends. It never stops. All right, so if you were to rank the teams in their ability to win a title, I'm with you. Philly probably 1. I'd go Miami 2. Golden State 3, Cleveland 4.
Yeah. Yes, I definitely Golden State above Cleveland. I don't think the three of those guys could figure it out. I think they would be, two of them would be lost all the time without the ball. And we know defensively
They'd be lost, period.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, you better sign, who knows? He's not out there.
Find a 29-year-old Ben Wallace. I don't
Whatever exists that could actually, at least tackle people as they come to the rim. Because that will be on a full head of steam.
Does Adam Silver does he have the right to be angry at LeBron?
Yeah, but I also believe he's allowed nonsense to go on for so long that it's almost like, if you're going to worry about being tardy, you need to start enforcing it, and I do feel like this is, LeBron has been able to kind of do his thing throughout this whole process. You can't convince me otherwise that the Luka thing was not a big production,
Yes.
I mean, the fact, it just reminded me yesterday that they got 1 first-round pick unprotected. They got Anthony Davis, who's no longer there. I mean, just an absolute swindle of the century, right? Adam Silver, in my mind, looked the other way on big things before. So I think this is probably, if there is joy in this, he's uncomfortable. Because I don't mind if he's uncomfortable.
Yeah. No, look, when you let the inmates run the asylum, you can't be upset when they make the decisions that you don't like.
When the cafeteria is on fire.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you kind of let this happen. You can't all of a sudden rein it back in like, okay, now I need it. Well, no, you pretty much have put up with anything I want to do in the past, and you'll continue to do that because it's well within my rights to take as long as I want to decide where I'm going to go.
We should actually try to pick the date instead of where he's going. Like, we should see how long try to pick how long he drags this thing out.
All right. What's today? The 21st?
What's the latest day how long could he drag it out?
That's a good question. I don't know. All right. Over under July 27th, Monday of next week at noon. I'm going to go
Monday at noon,
July 27th at noon.
There is no deadline, by the way. He does not have a deadline of making a decision.
I'm going to pay.
I feel like there would be, though.
I'm going to go next Thursday, whatever date that is.
So you're going to go over.
Mm-hmm. By a couple days.
Yeah, maybe that's a bad line. Maybe I said a bad line.
I feel like he's going to irritate
Pioneer
him
Day.
more.
It's happening on Pioneer Day.
Oh, so you'll go under. Yeah, I think it's going to happen over the weekend.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be pretty close.
I'll take the under on that one.
Okay.
Look at us getting all crazy. We're swords being the heck out of the show today.
Okay, on that one we got peanuts. The other one we got
some
drinks.
Beverages.
Yeah.
Beverages to go with peanuts.
For all of us, let's hope he makes one, man. Let's make one and then let everybody do their thing, get the schedule out. That's a big part of it. TV's wanting to have him film. It's like the Rocky movie. They'll film LeBron being filmed in his last season.
I play Rocky.
11:25. Lloyd has not been this fired up for a movie. Can you remember the last time you were this excited?
I actually really can't. I'm being serious.
I want to put a
am
request
so
in.
Excited.
Is
I'm
there-
taking the day off.
If there's any way,
Well, I mean, that's not a real,
I know, right?
That's not a rare
are
occurrence.
you off? Are you off tomorrow?
No, I am here. I'm
Okay,
off Friday.
Because tomorrow's your soundtrack day,
Yes. I'm
and
off
I
Friday.
would love it if you.
Oh, it is my soundtrack
Bring some
day.
Rocky in. Ooh.
I don't see. I was going to originally when I found this was going to happen, but I almost want to do it to celebrate in November when it
Okay,
comes out.
I get it.
So
You know
maybe
what?
Do you?
I can do it twice.
You know what? Sports radio is not linear.
This
Lloyd.
is true. I've heard this.
You can do it in November, and nobody would remember that. Like, yeah,
This
I
is
think
true.
He played those back in July.
Did I though?
Yeah, exactly.
You think LeBron will make a decision by November?
Hey, look, I still think he should just sign 10 days with every team in the league.
And get a gift.
Yeah, everybody gets crazy jersey sales.
If there is a serious path to him being able to do it, he would do it. It feels like it. And then end with the championship team.
Yes. No, it's like it's like a Survivor League, He's just going to stay in there as long as he can with teams that can compete. All right, 11:26. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
Wells is ready. He throws. Caleb swings and drives one high in the left field. It is way back and is gone! More Fenway magic! Caleb Garden puts the Red Sox ahead 6-5.
It's somebody else every night. He got another cutter up in the zone. That's his best pitch. Whose turn is it?
Oh, look at the smile on your face right
Hey,
now.
it's been that kind of couple weeks, man.
14 in a row.
And I know, we talked about this in the pre-show meeting. Lloyd's not all that impressed.
All right, Lloyd. You got some stuff to say?
You got to look at who they've done it against. Sure, Tampa Bay. That's neat. That's where it started, right? It was against Tampa Bay.
Best team in the AL.
That's neat.
That's cute. But they've also swept the Mets, who are bottom. They beat Baltimore.
Hey, Baltimore's hot.
But Baltimore they're like one up above the bottom of their division. They're barely right there.
Look,
and
they
then
beat the
did
Angels,
against,
the White Sox, and the Mets.
Who else? Who else is in
Angels,
the bottom?
Yanks.
Yeah, Angels. Angels at the very bottom. So that's eight of those wins, right?
But you know what's crazy?
8 of those.
They had 2 losses in between these 14, but they won 5 in a row before that. So they're 19-2 in their last 21. Like, this team's on fire. And like those guys said, it's somebody different every night. There is not a big name on this roster. I guess
will
Wilson
say
Contreras.
Their one pitcher, that goofy guy. What's his name? I know you know who I'm talking about. I'm going blank on his name now.
The guy that looks sideways, or
the guy that when the ball went over his head and he jumps up to go get it, but like it was a fake jump.
I didn't see the play.
They're a goofy starter. What's his name? They can't have more than one.
Not
goofy
Sonny
starter.
Gray.
No, it's not Sonny Gray.
I don't know they have a goofy starter.
Remember, I sent you that
what's
video.
Considered goofy.
I said my new favorite pitcher. Oh, now I got to find it, Scotty.
I'll tell you who it is. Not.
You're on your own on this one.
I don't know what goofy.
I would love to.
Maybe
you will know.
Peyton Toll.
Yes.
Yeah.
Goofy, right?
Goofy.
Okay, am I wrong?
Kind of a Lumox.
I'm shocked that you didn't get that.
I would use the word Lumox.
Lumox.
Yeah, he's the guy. Remember, I sent you that chopper that went over, that like went, and he like did a little fake like jump towards it.
I saw better play at the Murray All-Star game that day when I was questioned upon leaving.
Yeah, but that guy, I like him a lot.
I like him too.
Sure.
I like him too. No, it's a fun story. There's nothing like it when you're out there and they're like something magic's going on out there. They think, somehow, some way the gods have not forgotten us.
Is there like what's the Boston equivalent of Angels in the outfield? Like, there's some kind of weird special thing going on with this roster of a bunch of misfit toys that they got on the cheap because private equity gutted the team.
Yeah, they are the modern day Athletics, a little bit.
They are. They just gut themselves, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
They
ridiculous.
got rid of that Devers who went to the Giants and
Right.
just sucked.
Well, maybe they knew something. But no, congrats to them. I love when teams do things that aren't expected. And I did get a couple of texts from buddies the other day, not my European ones, but just here on the mainland,
Got a lot of Boston buddies.
that said something to the extent of, you did not wear out that Boston stuff when they were dead last in the AL East. And I will say to that, you're correct.
You were decked out in Red Sox gear yesterday.
I just had to make sure everybody knew that they're in the middle of something special.
Were you a Red Sox fan before you got the old 2-year call? So that had to put a big smile on your face when you saw that.
That was the first thing I thought of, was the Green Monster. And
You mean 2004? That's when you became?
no, I was a missionary in '89.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that was before you were born.
I always make that joke about these guys that say they're lifelong Boise State fans since 2005.
Oh, yeah, 2005.
Yeah.
No, I understand. I experienced it all. We talked about Buckner yesterday.
Hey, don't get me wrong. That 2004 run,
That's
everybody
pretty
was
awesome.
Red Sox.
Everybody
was
loved
pretty
that.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Come
awesome.
back from 03 against the Yankees.
Yeah.
So one day I was out there. It was a Monday, and you're able to just kind of mill around the city, right? You have
Little P
time
day.
off. Yeah. And of course, got up in the morning very studiously, studied.
Oh, sure. Got your work
Got my
in.
laundry done, all this stuff that you're supposed
When I
to
think
do.
of studious, I think of you.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we decided we're going to go out the Fenway area, and we're just going to walk around, see what we can find going on down there. No game, just hanging out. So we walk around the back of the Fenway, and there's a gate open. So, we're like,
Hey,
let's go.
let's go.
So we wander in. This is before they were doing tours and all that stuff, before the Green Monster seats were up. And walk into the kind of the back, and there's a dude out there watering the lawn. Just an old man, out there watering the lawn, the groundskeeper. And he was probably 56. And I said he was old. But he was out there watering the lawn, and he saw us up there. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "The gate was open." And he's like, "All right, well.
Get out.
He said, "You can go anywhere you want, just don't walk on the grass." And so that meant the warning track was in play.
Yeah.
So we went out there and got some cool pictures right against the monster, like with all the dings and dents on the wall. It
Wow.
was pretty awesome. So a day that I'll never forget. Walked those hallowed grounds.
I did the same thing in North Carolina at Cameron.
Oh, that takes your breath away.
We sneaked out on that court, and there happened to be a basketball lying around. So
Got a shot?
we got a couple shots up before we got chased out by security.
I like that. I was in Old Carmichael a couple of years ago, the old place that North Carolina used to play.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Michael Jordan played.
Mhm.
And I walked that floor. That was pretty cool. So, yeah, stuff you watch. It's funny. Nothing looks quite as big as it does on TV when you get there.
100%.
Have you been to Fenway?
I've not been to Fenway.
We're
I'm embarrassed to
We're
say
going to make that happen. That's going to be a couple's trip. Jess, Lloyd, Rach, Tim,
I like it.
Jen, Scotty.
Every time you say Scotty. Do you
What?
do that on purpose?
What?
Scotty.
Scotty.
Bowler.
Scotty.
Tim, Scotty. Lloyd.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, I'm embarrassed to say I've not been to Fenway. I've been to a lot of great places, but Fenway is haven't quite made that happen yet. All right. There's your good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
Tough story here. Georgia running back Dante Dowdle hospitalized after an ATV accident. Was transferred from Georgia to Georgia from Kentucky. Was injured near his home in Mississippi. He's injured, Kirby Smart said. We don't know when his return will be. I don't know the specifics of it, to be honest with you. It was a recreational vehicle, and he had some serious injuries. He's out of the really tough range, but as far as his complete health and coming all the way back, I don't know what that looks like in the terms of this year. That is not a good, glowing recommendation in terms of his ability to play the game of football here in the near future.
ATVs and athletes, man. They don't mix.
No.
We actually dodged a bullet. Caleb Lohner, on his visit to BYU, rolled one of those side-by-sides. But it was luckily caged up and nobody got hurt. But the next year was when Marty Sissoko was up there and rolled and messed up his hand pretty bad on one of those trips. So ATVs and athletes, just wait till you're done.
Yeah.
Or just take it like I do, like you're driving a golf cart.
Yes, very, very slowly.
Not a bullet.
Who was I? I was golfing with somebody the other day that was crazy aggressive with the golf cart. I can't remember, but
I'm not a big. I don't like that.
Like, hey, man, we'll get there. Take your time. It's all right.
If I hit the ball, it'd be like, it's only 130 yards up. Just slow down. Why'd you give him that look?
I think you should probably dump that, Lloyd. You should probably dump that. Oh, man. For the guy who's supposed to be in charge, you do get a little fast and loose sometimes.
I don't need you to do that to me right now. Don't do that. I don't need that from you.
Just saying.
When
do as I say, not as I. It was like a year ago.
It was like 10 years ago.
No,
that was 10.
It was like it was maybe 18 months at most.
Even Alex forgot. Jeez.
All right. Well, Bill Armstrong joins us next.
Why could that be 10 years down the line?
I love when he gets flustered.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The biggest name.
You're locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Another busy offseason move today for the Utah Mammoth. John Marino back with the team, an 8-year contract extension. Joining us now, he is the general manager of the Utah Mammoth. It is Bill Armstrong. Bill, we love bringing you on a lot, and you've been a busy man with all these extensions, all these trades, the signings. Congratulations on getting this one done.
Well, thank you. It was a big deal for us. Johnny's a heck of a player for us, and he's probably one of those guys that's really underrated. But he makes your team go, and he's just somebody you can't replace, and we don't have a player like him in our organization. So this is an important contract for us to get and kind of help us to move forward and be good for a long time.
The 8 years stood out to me. Joining obviously the contracts with Cooley and Smaltz. Obviously, guys, it's looking like want to be here, man. It's feeling like not only do we have a hockey team, but we have guys that want to be here.
Yeah, well, it's an easy place to want to be here. Utah is incredible. I mean, let's be honest. You walk into the Delta Center for a game, and what Ryan and Ashley Smith and SEG have done there is create an incredible rink. It was a place where you watch concerts and basketball, and now it's a hockey rink too.
Yeah.
And they've done a great job at just contouring the stands around it, trimming the ends up. It's loud. It's one of the loudest places. So, for players, they get spoiled.
Looks like we may have lost Bill. We're trying to get him back here. Bill Armstrong, general manager of the Utah Mammoth, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. By the way, you see video and you see some clips of the renovations going on right now.
How cool does it look? The overhang.
The overhang's going to be absolutely incredible. There's going to be so many awesome elements to this thing when it's all said and done.
It's going to be great, and the pace that they're working on this thing. I mean, they're working day and night against the clock to get it done, and they will. It's just the way we do things around here. But no, it's just like our team, man. Building and building fast.
And there's just no rest for the weary at all when they're putting this thing together for sure. But John Marino signing an 8-year contract extension with the Utah Mammoth, that becoming official earlier today. So he's locked in, came to the Utah Hockey Club a couple of years ago, was with New Jersey, then Pittsburgh. It's been really fun watching his progression as a player and what he's turned into because he's just been an absolute force.
Well, he was, he said he's underrated, and this is definitely an underrated stat, but he was second among defensemen in plus-minus last season. So, I mean, a guy that wins individual battles for sure. Bill
Armstrong back with us. And when you're putting together an 8-year extension, I mean, obviously, you know the immediate short-term health. How hard is it to kind of project where that player is going to be in year 5, 6, 7 of that contract?
That's a great question. I think it's you just kind of go off what's been done in the NHL before, and D-men typically mature later, and somewhere from 20, 28, 29, they kind of hit their peak, and they can run it all the way to like 34, 35, and some guys 36 of upwards. And with Johnny, we felt like maybe even longer, because of the simple sense that he's only played 300 and some odd games in the National Hockey League, so he's still got a lot of games in him. Sometimes when players get a lot of mileage on them, they don't make it, past 1,000 games. And for John, he's hasn't played a lot of games in the National Hockey League, and I think that's also a good thing, in the sense I think there's more growth in him still ahead. He's a pretty unique player. Like, he can really move a puck. He's probably our best puck mover. And all the forwards on our team want to play with him. They get the puck at full speed right on the tape, and he's a lead at it. I think the other thing that you consider when you're signing a long-term deal with him, and is the fact that he's a unique player, that every time he's on the ice, something good happens. I mean, the plus minus that he had last year is just absolutely incredible, and he's probably one of our favorite teammates on the team, and a really underrated player. And we felt like we get this deal done, this could make us good for a long time.
I know you and Chris have joked in the past that, although you're two Canadians, you have no issue signing a bunch of American players. Another one in the fold, which I love. But the question, Bill, I have for you is urgency. We think all the time, guys in your position, pushing and being urgent. But how important is patience in your job?
Well, it's interesting about the patience factor too. It's we've got the ability to kind of do both in some areas, where we can be patiently developing our players through the minors, and then slowly bringing them in when they're at the NHL standard and they can make an impact, and we're not being crippled by sometimes too many young guys, and then you can't get into the playoffs. So we're pretty patient in developing our players. I think we have some urgency when it comes to wanting to take the next step. I think there's players that are the Anders Lees and the Vinny Trocheks and the Lawson Krause and the Keller and the Schmoltz. They want to win. They're at the age to win. And they're not looking around going, hey, I can't wait for all the young guys to come here. They want to win now. So I think we can do both. We can have the urgency and try and create that with our group up top, that our window is here to win. And at the same time, underneath, the T.J. Ginlas, the Caleb Denories, the Lamoureux, the Smiths of the world, the Harabels, we've got a lot of good prospects in the American League that will, they'll come in and compete for a job. And if they end up in the American League, we'll have some patience in developing them.
So Marino sets new offensive highs in assists, points, game-winning goals, multi-point games, scored his first playoff goal in that Game 2 against Vegas. We talk about how much room he has to grow. How about from the offensive side, the room to be able to grow in what he's able to offer in that side?
Well, he doesn't get a lot of credit sometimes, because when he's coming out of the zone, he makes the play, and then it moves up to the forwards, and they kind of they kind of are in transition, and they attack, and we wouldn't have got out of our zone if he didn't put his stamp on it. But I still think there's room for improvement with his shot. Him and I talk about it along with the coaching staff, and trying to grow his shot a little bit, and I think he can do that. I still think there's a player sometimes when you go and you get to the point where you get traded the first time, traded the second time, and then all of a sudden on the third time, you're like, okay, I understand some of my weaknesses that I got to get better. And I think he's one of the kids that I've been, proud of the fact that he simply goes home in the summer and tries to take another step. He comes back bigger and stronger, and he wants to win. So it was a huge signing for us.
Before we came on, I threw, say, anybody have any questions for Bill? And Don Eisenbarth tweeted in and said, you got any more of those 8-year contracts? I don't know if he can play or not, but I'm just doing him a solid by asking the question. We often talk about, the fact that the window, I feel like this has been a rebuild, but do you feel like we're at a schedule, Bill? Do you feel like on schedule for where you thought this would be at this time? What are your thoughts on that?
I do. We always predicted in our model when we were, going and slowly becoming better that in our fifth year of it, which was last year, we'd make the playoffs, and we did. I think the team is, you're not going to camp as much. We have 2 or 3 young kids that will push to make the team, but the majority of our team is there already. You're not going in, I wonder who's going to play with who. It's Nate Schmidt and John Marino are going to play together. Sergey and Weeks are going to play together, and Veggie's going to start. So we're getting into that era where guys are showing up at camp and they know, hey, we got a pretty good team here, boys. It's time to roll. It's there's not so many tryouts and figuring out who goes where. Clayton Keller, where he goes, where Nick Schmaltz goes, and where Krauser goes. And so we're getting to a good era of our team, and our expectations are to make the playoffs. It's a hard thing in the National Hockey League just to make them. But now we're at that expectation level where we made it last year, and now we expect to get in every year, and we're going to be pushing all the time from behind the scenes. And you can feel that with our guys. I think when you make some moves like we did and get the Andersley and the Trocheks and the Kostas of the world, and all of a sudden they're coming into Utah, people are like looking around going, hey, all the guys on the team are going, hey, they think we got a chance here, boys. And I remember as a player when that happened to me, I had great faith, and I'm like, they think we can win this. Like, there's a belief here, and I feel like that.
How much does it help your state of mind when you sign a guy to a contract coming off a year where he played 80 games because he was such a fixture for you in that lineup?
Well, it's always a positive thing when you got some guys that go in the lineup and play close to all 82. It's a good thing, and it's hard when you don't have your guys in the lineup. It's hard to win, and there's no excuses in the National Hockey League. I think we've built some great depth this year with our group. I feel like, if this happens, that happens, we've got some depth. And I kind of like, nobody really remembers the injuries at the end of the year. Like, no one comes, oh, so sorry you didn't make the playoffs. Yeah. You had 3 injuries in the month of December that really crippled you. Like, nobody cares. Like, it's next man up for us. And as long as you got the depth and the young guys that'll come up and fight, and that's what I love about where our team is right now. We got some depth on our team, and you need guys to play all 80, but if they don't, or 84 this year, if they don't, then you get a chance with some depth, and I like the depth that we've built on our club.
Yeah, you mentioned, when we finished the year last year, some of the things you wanted to try to address was a little more veteran voice, that physical, chippy, nature on the defensive side. Do you feel like the things you've wanted to address, you have?
Yeah, I think with Anders Lee, he's a big physical guy, that can come in and really play with good players. The other thing, too, is I think when you add in like Lamoureux's got a chance to come in and play. You got Simashev, he's like 6'5", 230. Daniel Boots like pushing 6'6", 230. And he's going to be a year older competing for a job. And I do feel like those guys can have impact this year, and they're going to give us some size and physicality and the way that they play and how hungry they are to go at the net. I think we made some strides in just becoming a better team that plays more on the inside and plays harder in front of the net. So I do believe some of the ads we've made have helped us, and the Vinny Trocheks of the world too. He's a savvy player that also goes to the front of the net. So I do think the ads that we've had give us a little bit of what we didn't have last year.
So since we've talked, you got a schedule. You'll open up at home against Chicago, and then we pretty much don't see you guys back until January, it seems like. A crazy road start to the season. I guess you could look at that a couple of different ways and say, hey, when we're making our playoff push for seeding, we got a bunch of home games, but then also, you're starting out heavy on the road. What goes through your mind when you see that thing come across the table?
Oh, that's a great question too. Boy, you guys are all good with the questions today. You like a balanced schedule. At the end of the day, everybody's got the same road games, and and make sure that we're competitive through our schedule. And I feel like everybody whines about their schedule a little bit. We're definitely on the road at the start. We've got a battle to make sure we get 500 and above coming out of there. But it's going to be a battle on the road, and the road wears you down too. Like, you play 4 or 5 games, your last game on the road, you're just worn down, and it's hard. And sometimes you can misjudge your team because you're like, hey, we don't have any energy, but actually you've been on the road the most in the National Hockey League, and you're grinding with the amount of air travel you're doing. So I feel like, hey, listen, everybody's gonna whine about their schedule. I might as well whine a little bit too. All right.
As you should. Absolutely. Hey, well, we appreciate your time. Congratulations on the signing. You're staying busy as always. We love it, and can't thank you enough for hopping on with us.
Oh, you're welcome, guys. Thanks. Great to see you.
Great to see you as well. There he is, Bill Armstrong, General Manager, Utah Mammoth, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Friend of the program.
Great friend of the program. Good dude. And he's having himself a killer offseason, but it also, like he said, it doesn't hurt when you've got an ownership group that's investing heavily into the player experience, not just great facilities, but a fan experience. It's loud. The community's all involved. People want to be a part of this team, and when they're a part of it, they don't want to leave. And getting an 8-year extension keeps John Marino in town for a long time.
Love seeing those guys line up, the core, for a long, long time. And like Bill said, the thought has got to be, hey, they think we can do this. Well, I certainly do. I'm ready to, the game against Chicago can't come fast enough. I want it here.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Kick off your noon hour next right here on the Zone.
The Jazz, the Mammoth, and the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. When it comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's a classic.
I was kidding. Boy, this really stinks.
There's truth in every joke. I'm trying to do your voice. I wish I could pull the board up and put sound right back at you, dog.
Yeah, I try to pick songs today. It's my playlist day that everybody could sit, whether you're listening in your car or you're streaming later or whatever the case is, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember where I was at when I heard that song. I remember driving the Trans Am to high school, listening to that song. Like, hey,
Remember my mom saying, "Turn the station."
Yeah.
Mom would say.
Moms and dads didn't necessarily like this song very much.
Does she play softball? Center field?
Yeah, Mom at center field.
Angels out in center field.
Bryan Fischer is going to join us coming up here in just a moment. One of our good friends. We'll talk some college football with him, with the SEC having their media day. And, of course, we've got all kinds of interesting storylines coming out of there in regards to how the evil empire known as the SEC is trying to handle the changes of college athletics.
Yeah, I'm curious to talk to him about the sound we heard yesterday all across SEC. I think Sankey was the biggest culprit, but then, Don't Call Me Ben Wilstein.
Yes.
Gave us the meocracy.
How is Kentucky going to be better? Well, because of me. Well, I am making Kentucky better.
He started like, I feel bad. I'm just going to say.
All right, just say it. It's me.
It's me.
It's me. They're going to be better because of me.
Do you know who I am by chance?
Yeah, look, I've coached Oregon. I've been all around. I've been at the highest level. I can get Kentucky. No big deal. And, that's the thing. Like, everybody's looking around saying, like, well, geez, if Signetti can figure out Indiana, I can at least figure out Kentucky. Because Indiana was a dumpster fire.
I'm rubbing my eyes going, is that Hell Mummy over there? Because that's about the only dude that's done anything in that spot.
Yeah, that's a good question.
A little mummy.
Hal Mummy, and then, that's about it.
Hal Mummy had that Lorenzen, that big old...
Jared Lorenzen, the hefty lefty.
Or 22, if I remember right. Was it 22? It was a double number right now.
He's a big mamma jamba.
He'd run you down.
And he was good. He was good,
He was actually good. You couldn't sleep on his arm.
No?
And then Mummy, he was ingenious with his formations and slinging it.
Plus, Lorenzen played in the NFL. Like, he was a backup to Eli for a few years. I think he may have been on a Super Bowl team.
He also was the wedge in the. No, he wasn't. He just played quarterback.
The wedge breaker in special teams. Oh man. So yeah, we'll talk to Bryan here in just a moment. Always good catching up with him as college football, as apparently the phones are down inside studio. So.
Oh, my gosh.
That's always fun.
He passed.
Who, Jared Lorenzen?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, about 4 years ago.
Didn't know that.
4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Bless your soul. Thank you for the entertainment.
Well, and honestly, too, really sad story because, I mean, just, couldn't quite get things situated from a health standpoint. And, look, we all have those moments in our life. Like, I've told my story a bunch of times. I had a doctor that looked at me and said, "Do you like your feet? Because you're heading down a path where you may not have access to them, if you know what I mean."
And you're like, they're important.
And he's like, there's this thing called blood sugar, and you need to probably pay a little bit more attention to that. And I was like, okay. And so, we made some changes because I didn't really want to go down that path. But was it easy? No. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, and it wasn't fun, and it still isn't fun. But, yeah. All right, joining us now, Bryan Fischer, staff writer, Sports Illustrated, covers college football, college hoops, but overall good dude. Bryan, kind enough to hang out with us. Bryan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Good to be on with you guys.
Always good catching up. The evil empire known as the SEC holding their media day, led by Darth Vader himself, Greg Sankey, who said, hey, look, it's not just idle conversation of us breaking away. We'll do it if we need to. Is he bluffing, or is the SEC actually thinking that it may actually come to that?
Deep down, I think it's a pretty standard bluff, from the SEC and Greg Sankey. But to be fair, I think it's not just the commissioner himself. He is speaking for a lot of his member schools, which let's face it, I think there's been more agitation from a lot of his members to actually kind of go out and do some of these things and at least create some rules that govern just the SEC. And I think there is certainly a broader point in terms of, hey, this is a way that we can get around some of the lawsuits and some of the antitrust litigation that has been going on, surrounding a lot of NCAA rules. And this is a way to do that. But as far as actually breaking away, I think that's still a little bit premature here.
A lot of obviously hope for the legislation that's being talked about, and I think the majority of fans through this Texas Tech situation, Scotty and I were talking about this the other day, have definitely kind of galvanized. They galvanized against that anyway. Do you feel like this, even with these statements, do you feel like this is a deal that could get done in the foreseeable future because of just the need to take the next step?
I will believe it when I see it, and I've kind of had that kind of same outlook throughout this entire process. And part of that is just because kind of where we are in the calendar. We're coming up on the August recess in Congress, and I think if they're not able to get something done here really in the next week and a half, and really to get through both houses of Congress at this point, to send to the president's desk, I think it's going to be looking like a very long summer and long fall after a lot of lobbying efforts there in Washington, D.C. And there's still some back and forth in terms of some of the language, coming out of the Senate, which hopefully, there's some hope that this will actually go to the floor, which I think would be a pretty meaningful step. But I think it's just in terms of the actual pressure that is going to be on now to get over the hump in terms of actually getting something through both houses. I think it's going to be too much, at this point. And I think there's been some productive dialogue, from everybody, and some of the changes that certainly the Big Ten and the SEC would like are maybe not going to be completely implemented, but are going to get at least to where they can get enough broad support. But at the end of the day, I think politics is just so difficult to predict nowadays, given how divided things are in Washington, D.C. To layer on that some of the issues that we're seeing in college athletics, again, I will believe it when I see it, despite some positive signs, at least in the near term.
So here in Salt Lake City, Kentucky football isn't necessarily a prime topic of conversation, but the Will Stein line yesterday where he said, was asked why Kentucky will be good. He's like, well, because of me. I'm the guy that's going to get the – I mean, I like the honesty, but that certainly was the quote of the day yesterday with the dude's not hurting for confidence.
No, and good for Will, and that's just kind of who he is too. He is a very confident guy, and you kind of have to be, to be a quarterback. Certainly, playing the ACC, there at Louisville, a tremendous guy, and he's got a history of success. I think it's understandable that you would have some confidence going into this job, given what he's been able to do, especially at the quarterback position. They're Oregon, UTSA before that. He's a guy that does bring quite a bit of experience. It's just like can he kind of get over the hump? And I will say, to his credit, there's, the Indiana factor, I think, is going to be great there at Kentucky in terms of, look, they right up the road, they did it. They got over the hump. And I'm not saying that Kentucky's going to go out and win a national title or anything, but in terms of being competitive in the SEC, we've seen that from Kentucky before. In this day and age, it really is as good as, your roster from year to year. It's not like, you're building slowly up, for 4 or 5 years to maybe have one good season. You can have, a couple good years, and, credit to Will. I think he's a confident guy. He's going to certainly supercharge that offense there. It's just going to be, in a very brutal SEC with that extra conference game. I think it's going to be an uphill battle for really all of the schools that are not spending, $40 or $50 million, which I don't believe Kentucky is, this year.
Well, it is, you bring up the interesting point with Indiana. I think that all of a sudden Indiana has set a lot of shockwaves throughout college football. Even if you don't have a stellar tradition of football excellence, if you get the right coaching and the right roster, you can turn things around pretty quickly. And I think that probably sets the bar high for a lot of schools, even if they don't necessarily are considered a blue blood in that sport.
Yeah, and I was talking with Coach last week at ACC Media Days. Like the margins right now, they were always pretty thin. To begin with, given you're relying on 18 to 24-year-olds. But I think just because depth is almost non-existent, like injuries play a huge factor. The games are just tougher, and talent has just spread around. I mean, you look at the 5 stars. They're not all concentrated in 3 or 4 schools anymore. That is getting spread out. You're definitely seeing talent. You're definitely seeing playing time. Be a pretty big factor for a lot of guys, even over some paychecks. And so I think it's just a new era, in terms of the sport and adjusting to that. And I think it does kind of put the emphasis back on actual coaching. I think that's the big thing, for a lot of people. Yes, you are having GMs deal with the rosters, and you have your slew of personnel folks that are designed to get as many guys in the door that can be cost efficient as well as produce. But at the end of the day, it does come down to those margins, and whether it's the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 10, really doesn't matter the league. You're going to come down to a couple of close calls there in the fourth quarter, kind of deciding whether you're going to have a really great season or you're maybe just a good one.
Another big piece of news this week across college football, certainly impacts college football, is the Warde Manuel's going to step down at Michigan. Obviously read your article, which I really enjoyed. If y'all want to catch that, jump out to si.com. Bryan wrote a great article about it. But Bryan, Kyle Whittingham's going to have a new boss.
Yeah,
real quick.
I'm sure he probably didn't necessarily foresee that, but I don't think it would have dissuaded him from taking a job like Michigan. And that's also kind of part of the attractiveness. I think of having Kyle there, to having somebody who's established, who's laid the groundwork for the program to provide some stability. I always thought that this was one of the better jobs to come open in terms of, if you're an athletic director out there, taking off all the boxes. Yes, you're going to get paid well. Yes, it's one of those Power 2 schools. Yes, it's a great place to live there in Ann Arbor, especially if you have a family. Plus the stability of not really knowing that you're not going to have to worry about football really the next couple of years, outside of fundraising and making sure those NIL rosters opportunities are there for the roster. I think it's a great setup for whoever comes in and replaces Warde Manuel, which as I kind of wrote, it was time, certainly to make this move. And I think he did a terrific job in terms of being able to skate on thin ice and survive over a decade there in Ann Arbor. But at the end of the day, probably a much needed change and kind of going to go through a reboot, there, in Michigan.
Was it a foregone conclusion that he was gone and they just needed the investigation to kind of give them a little bit of ammunition, or was there probably some pretty damning stuff in that investigation that led them to this?
Well, I think if there had been a smoking gun, you certainly would have seen, the school move to actually have something more a little formal from last Thursday's board meeting. And look, I mean, like I said, Ward's been on thin ice and have had come close or rumored to possibly be stepping away or getting fired really for the last couple of years. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of for as much as he's turned around Michigan and we that was one of the more underachieving athletic departments certainly before he got there. Win a football national title, to win a men's basketball national title, like that does count for a lot there. But at the end of the day, there's just so many scandals, so many off-field things that it was definitely time. And the fact that there wasn't going to be a new president, they have an interim guy right now. They're going to hire somebody, and at some point, it just kind of seems like time. And I think regardless of what was actually in the report, which we all don't know about because that was all delivered verbally, to a lot of regents and lacking transparency there. I think it's just really a nice, convenient cover to say, all right, let's separate, let's go our separate ways, and let's embark on a new search.
Scotty and I went down to Media Days, Big 12, a couple weeks ago. Had a great visit. Really impressed with a bunch of teams. We had TCU on yesterday. Talked to Bryan and their quarterback situation's fascinating. Kid at Harvard. What do you know about him and his story?
Oh, yeah, Jaden Craig, certainly a terrific story, and that kind of speaks to modern college football nowadays, right? Where you can get a guy coming out of Harvard, and look, he was somebody that, frankly, had he not been able to come back for another year, if he just left and gone to the NFL, I think he probably would have been maybe a late day 3 pick, at this point. So, he's got the inherent talent. I think, talking with Sonny Dykes too a couple weeks ago, he's excited, in terms of the offensive system change that they're going to have. They're going to get back to running the football a little bit more. I think they've definitely kind of got away with it under the previous offensive coordinator. So I think TCU overall, they're one of those teams that I think, sneaky good, in the Big 12. Obviously, had a terrific season last season. If you look at it objectively, probably lost a couple of games that could have made it even better. But that's kind of just the nature of the Big 12. And to bring in a quarterback who's a veteran guy, I think that the thing that struck me too in talking with some of the Horned Frogs out there at Big 12 Media Days as well is just he's ingratiated himself, right away. He's the leader on the team. He's one of those guys that has jumped right in terms of that leadership ability. And you can't expect anything other than a smart guy coming from Harvard, trying to adjust there. He's made the most of it. And I'm excited to see him and what he does with this kind of new look TCU this season.
Kind of feels like Texas Tech and BYU are 1A and 1B in that conference. And then you've got that next tier that's got Houston, Utah, Arizona State, TCU. Who out of that next tier of teams do you think really has a realistic opportunity of playing in a Big 12 championship game?
Oh, spin the wheel,
yeah.
I mean, it really does kind of come down to, who's going to win those, game or two in the fourth quarter. That is going to prove key in terms of winning the tiebreakers. And I think it's probably even more difficult for members of that group, unless they get some of those head-to-head wins with BYU and Texas Tech, just because, frankly, BYU and Texas Tech not playing each other. That could be potentially good for the league in terms of maybe getting another team into the conference title game and letting a potential at-large bid out there for the CFP. But it's going to be tough for all of them. And I would say if I had to pick one, it probably would be TCU, just because we have seen proof positive that Sonny Dykes can get a team over the line. I do think they feel really good about where they're at. In terms of their depth, especially up front in both sides of the ball. I think they're, going to replace some new guys in the secondary. That's probably a little bit of a concern for the defensive staff. But, I think they've got enough there to maybe be that team that emerges out of the group. I wouldn't put it past, ASU. We've seen proof positive from them as well under Kenny Dillingham. I think they might actually be a year away, but, you never know with that group. Certainly Arizona, and with Noah Fafita coming back, Brent Brennan, probably one of the bigger surprises in the Big 12 last season. He's even more excited about his team than he was a year ago. So it really is, again, spin the wheel. That's just the nature of the Big 12, and probably will be the nature of this conference title race, which figures to be one of the more exciting ones in the country this year.
Your take on the time you spent, I assume you spent a little time with Morgan Scalley, got to listen to him at the podium, but your thoughts of Morgan and I saw the other day he shut off his social media. It's time to go down into the cave. So he's approaching year one. What was your take for media day, and what do you have expectation-wise from Morgan?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the latter question and in terms of expectation, I don't really think they change. And I think Morgan would probably be the first to say that, and he kind of alluded to it. Yes, there's some new things, some small, tweaks here or there, but in terms of, the culture of the program, in terms of what they want to accomplish, in terms of how they're built, in terms of the guys they have, I don't think really any of that changes. And yes, there's a new guy in the head coach's office, for the first time in a long time, but obviously with Morgan, I think just you could feel the love for the place and the understanding of what it takes to win there at Utah, what it takes to succeed there. Like he knows that better than just about anybody. So I think that's definitely one of the teams. Like, it might be rocky here or there, in terms of maybe coaching decisions that you just never know about as a first-time head coach. But I think the program itself is definitely in a healthy position, and I know he's excited to kind of put his firm, fingerprints on it. And, that's not to say he's going to change a bunch of things from what Kyle was doing. But, I think he's excited to kind of get all that behind him and really focus on this season. Like you said, turn off the social media and all that. He's a 1A football type of guy. And I know he's going to love nothing more than actually getting into fall camp this year or later this month and really getting into the weed work in terms of building this team for this season.
Knowing what you know now about how the Brandon Sorsby situation played out, had you ranked Utah and BYU and Texas Tech in the Big 12, who would you have number one and who would you have number two?
I would still keep Texas Tech at number one, and I think maybe that's just talking with Joey McGuire a little bit a couple weeks ago. Obviously, I understand the emphasis on the Brendan Sorsby thing, but having Will Hammond back, and I think they do feel pretty confident in terms of where he's at, health wise. I think they might take it even slower, probably than maybe the external expectation is. I know a lot of people are circling that Houston game, but even if they were to kind of hold them back a little bit and maybe a little bit deeper into the actual conference play, I think they're still fine. I think if you look at the actual, top to bottom of the roster, I would kind of put, like you said earlier, 1 and 1A in terms of Texas Tech and BYU, but it'd probably still be in that order. Now, that can obviously change, quite a bit in terms of injuries and all that. But I think just in terms of the actual frontline talent, they feel really good about their running backs there in Lubbock. I think they're probably going to get better production out of their wide receivers this year. So, like, if you're talking about, quarterback being a little bit more of a point guard, this year in terms of Will Hammond, I think they can get that out of him, and he can still make the big plays that we saw, at times, in flashes last season. So Tech would still be the number one, but it does feel much closer, I think, and I think, Kalani Sitake, talking to him as well, like they feel like the playbook is opening up more a little bit offensively, confident in where they're at defensively, of course. And, I think it's going to be a really fun race, in the Big 12 yet again.
Who do you look at as a team in college football period that maybe we're not talking about, but that we probably will come in December, January?
Oh, that's a good question. I almost want to circle USC a little bit, both good and bad, because I think you can see that they've been laying the groundwork for this to be one of those seasons. And there's talk of obviously Jaden Maiava being a potential Heisman guy. The pressure is definitely on there with Lincoln Riley, but they've got that game early, against Oregon in the Coliseum early in the season. Like that's going to be one everybody's going to be circled on. But they got to go to Penn State. They got Indiana. Like this is a pretty tough Big Ten schedule, and I think the pressure is definitely on there with Lincoln Riley. So yes, we're going into Big Ten Media Days next week, and I'm sure there will be a lot more talk about USC. But that to me, that whole situation, both good and bad, whether they surprise and get into the playoff or whether they disappoint and kind of fall short of expectations, the Trojans are definitely one of the more interesting teams, I think, in college football this season. We'll probably see that play out both on and off the field moving forward. I
mean, we talk about the drama inside the athletic department at Michigan, but take all that out of it. Just looking at that coaching staff and looking at that talent that they have on that roster, what are your expectations for the Wolverines this season?
Well, it's really going to come down to, I think they got a pretty high floor, right? Like in terms of, this is a team that probably could blink and go 8-4. And it is a pretty tough schedule. Obviously, we'll see what happens in terms of those big time games against Indiana and Ohio State that are on there. That'll really be where the new coaching staff is going to be tested. But this is a team full of guys that they got to come back from last season. And obviously, a new coaching staff. It's going to really. I think a lot of pressure is going to be on there on Jason Beck, their new offensive coordinator, in terms of getting Bryce Underwood. The talent is there. It is. I've seen it. We've seen flashes. Can he be more consistent? We saw that out of Eric Dampier there at Utah last season. Like he definitely improved his numbers, even making that jump from the group of 5 up to the power 4. Can we see a similar kind of jump from Bryce Underwood? That's going to be key to Michigan. And I kind of see them being one of those teams that really floats around the college football playoff discussion. And certainly they've got that big win against Oklahoma. They'll have to be well prepared and ready early in the season, because that's a big mile marker, not just in terms of Michigan themselves and where the program is at under Kyle Early, but also in terms of that kind of Big Ten SEC race where you figure one of those conferences that's going to be one of those key metric points in terms of comparing the two leagues and who might get that extra playoff bid between the two of them.
Well, hey, we appreciate it, Bryan. Great stuff as always. Enjoy Big Ten Media Day coming up next week, because I think there's going to be some fascinating stuff coming out of there. But always a pleasure. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Good to be on with you guys.
From Sports Illustrated, Bryan Fischer. Follow him on Twitter at Brian D. Fischer right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
He's been busy. He's been writing a bunch of preseason stuff and then also World Cup. He got pulled into that, that Alex Napoles stuff.
Yeah, we all have a tendency to follow that. Coming up a little bit later, coming up at 1 o'clock, we'll talk a little Washington football, as we take a look around some of the big upcoming opponents for Utah, BYU, and Utah State. It's all straight ahead, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, John Marino back with the Utah Mammoth. Never left. 8-year contract extension. It's a big one, and he will remain a member of the Mammoth. Joining us now, Mammoth NHL insider Cole Bagley, kind enough to join us. Cole, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Was this always a foregone conclusion that they were going to find a way to get this thing done?
Yeah, for sure. I think, any time that you can find a player who's as reliable as John Marino is and has, such, high quality statistical, numbers and is willing to stick around for the long haul, I think you got to lock those types of players up, and that's exactly what Utah did today.
Off-season moves have been aplenty. Definitely felt like they had attacked things they needed to attack, but we just had Bill Armstrong on, and he said, looking around, he's feeling like the guys are feeling like, it's time. These guys, it feels like management believes. What's your thought on all the good things Mammoth?
Yeah, I think this has been an incredible summer for them. When you look at all the areas that they were lacking in a year ago, I think what they did this off season was, really do a deep dive on, where they needed to improve the most. And, what Bill told me is that, that series against Vegas played a major role in, how they, looked at what they needed to work on and what areas that they needed to improve. And that's exactly what they did with all of these moves, right? From, the Trocheks and the Anders Lees up front to be more, sound in front of the net, to be more physical, to play a grittier style and to be able to compete not only, more effectively in the regular season, but as well in playoffs when, grit and physicality are at a premium. That's what they were able to do amongst their forwards, and they were able to find their backup goaltender in Sebastian Kosa, a position that they've been searching for over the last 2 seasons, ever since things kind of went south with Connor Ingram and wanting to kind of lighten Vejmelka's load. They were able to find a young goaltender that they've long since coveted and believed in. They did incredibly well, I think, in the draft with the picks that they had, and now locking up a guy in John Marino, who is one of the key cornerstones of their blue line. I think that this has been a very productive offseason, and one that is going to not only help them reach their goal of 100 points in the regular season, but they might even win a series or two in the playoffs.
The thing that I think is fascinating is that you got Marino on an 8-year contract, which is just a massive amount of years. But in talking to Bill Armstrong, he mentioned, okay, he may be in his late 20s, but also he hasn't played a lot of NHL game. There's still a ton of tread on those tires in terms of NHL experience. So obviously, short term, he's worth a ton. Do you worry about year 5, 6, 7 of that contract?
Not really. He'll be, he's 29, so he'll be 37 going on 38 by the end of the contract. But, similar to Nick Schmaltz's deal, what they've done with these contracts is they've front loaded them. They've made the contracts, the first couple of years more expensive with a higher AAV, and then it lessens as you go on. I mean, I think years 1 through 4, according to Puckpedia, years 1 through 4 will be about $8 million AAV, and then it drops to $6 million in years 5 and 6, and then down to $5 million in years 7 and 8. And so I think what Bill and his front office have done really well is with these guys, they're in their later 20s, early 30s, the ones that they're bringing back for, max term extensions, they're making those contracts tradable as you get into the later years. They're not putting themselves in a situation where you're not going to be able to move that contract, especially considering the fact that, the cap is continuing to rise. I think a guy like John Marino, with his production, with how good he is and sound he is defensively, I think, in a couple of years from now when they're paying him, into that $6 million, $5 million range, that's going to be a steal. And, potentially, it's going to be a contract that should be pretty easy to move, if they get down the road and the team continues to evolve.
So we just talked about it. They went out, got more veteran, as you mentioned, added a solid backup goalie that can now develop, another big dude that in the cage. Is there any piece now that you feel like, they need to address, or is the addressing now just playing and learning together and developing that chemistry?
I'm interested to see. I mean, this is the one area that is a little bit concerning for me is their third pairing defensively. They moved on from Ian Cole, who is now in Chicago. They traded Sean Durzi, and so right now, who's going to fulfill that third pairing on Utah's blue line? Is it Dmitry Simashev and Maverick Lamoureux? Is it Peak? Is it Nick DeSimone? And not that those guys aren't capable, but I do think that in terms of experience and games played and veteran leadership, they're definitely taking a step back in that position. Now I think it's kind of a trade-off, right? I mean, they're able to stack themselves more in terms of offense. They're able to add some very sound, very talented, very physical forwards in Trocheck and Lee, as we've already talked about. But there is some concern, in my opinion, about the amount of experience that they're going to have on that third defensive pairing, the amount of talent. Simashev showed last season that he wasn't quite ready to go full-time in the NHL. How has that changed this offseason? What has he done to prove that he is ready? And I think the same thing can be said about Maverick Lamoureux. This is a guy that's been in the pipeline for quite a while. I want to say he was drafted in 2022, so we're stepping into year 4, year 5 of him in the pipeline. Has he reached the point where he's ready to make that jump? And according to Bill, we talked to him earlier today, he is expecting those guys to really push hard and to come in and to make things competitive. But for me, amongst those 4, I think there's still a little bit of concern of, how good and how deep is your defense going to be. Their top 4, super solid, right? You've got Uyghur, you've got Sergachev, you've got Schmidt, you've got Marino, but you get into that bottom pairing, and I think there's some question marks about depth.
How big is it for guys like Simashev and Boot, to come up last year and get a taste? Not play a ton, but come up and get a feel for it. Does that help them this year? Yeah, it's huge. It's all part of the process. I mean, I think anytime that you can get a prospect, quality NHL minutes and they get a taste for what it takes, it's always going to benefit them because, these are really good players. I mean, these are guys that, were, very, very good over in the KHL. They were high first-round picks, and they both excelled in the AHL last year. I mean, these are guys who were borderline all-stars who were putting up, a lot of points and were making an impact down in Tucson. But, they came up to the NHL, and it was a bit of a rude awakening at times. It's a faster game. It's a more physical game.
And, so I think for them, it was good for them to learn that. And now, with a full off season ahead of them, opportunity to put in the work and to train with the right guys and to get their bodies right and to get their minds right, it can only, it's only going to do them, a lot of good is they can now fully prepare. And, based on where they are in terms of their progress, in terms of how many years they've been in the pipeline, these guys should, for me, I think Simashev should be making that opening day roster. Boot, I think, should be pushing for it and at least should be spending a good amount of time in the NHL. But yeah, I think, like I said, anytime you can get quality minutes for those young prospects, it's only going to help them, measure themselves from, where they are and where they need to be.
Cole Bagley joining us, NHL Hockey Mammoth Insider right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone and KSLSports.com. When you have high-level draft picks like Denoyer or Iginla, is there pressure once you bring them up that they have to stay up, or do you still feel comfortable moving them up and down a little bit? And when I say that, do you hesitate bringing them up, realizing that there might be a chance you might move them down, or do you want to get them up there and make sure that they're in a situation where they're good enough where they can stay up there? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think I understand what you're saying. I think a lot of it, I'm sure a lot of it goes back to the mentality, right? You don't want to, hurt those guys' confidence, but it's all part of the process. I mean, how many guys, that are currently on the Mammoth roster, were ready to play for an NHL team day one? Very few. And even of those, that were, they had to spend some times in junior leagues and in the AHL and what have you. I mean, if you think about Dylan Guenther, this is a guy who, he just scored 40 goals in the National Hockey League. Well, he's only played 2 full seasons in the NHL because the previous year, the last season in Arizona, he didn't make the opening day roster, and he was actually pretty upset about it. I've talked to him about, what that process was like, but what he did is, and management basically told him, prove to us that you're ready, force your way onto this roster. So he went down to the AHL. He scored a boatload of goals. He proved himself. They pulled him up, and, right now he's one of the best, shooters in the National Hockey League, and he's probably on one of the best bargain contracts in the league. And I think if you look at, an example of a guy like Josh Doan, who obviously is no longer with the organization, but, he had kind of a similar thing where that last season in Arizona, the Coyotes were not going to make the playoffs, so they gave, Josh a run at the end of the year. I think he played 12 games. He played incredibly well. He made the opening day roster, during the inaugural season, but then he struggled a bit. And so, while he may have thought he was ready and the organization kind of gave him an opportunity to show that, it wasn't so. And so they had to send him back to the AHL. He went down there. He was an all-star for the Tucson Roadrunners. He proved himself, came back up to the NHL, and he hasn't looked back. And he signed himself a nice contract with Buffalo, this last year. So I don't think that. I mean, obviously that there is a. You have to be careful, right? I mean, there are guys who it's going to hurt their confidence, but I think for most of these players, especially first-round picks, they're so hungry that if they get set back, well, then they're just gonna they're gonna do whatever it takes to get back up into the league. And so for guys like Caleb Denoyer and TJ Ginla, it'll be a good test. Training camp will be a really good test for them to show and to prove. Are they ready to steal a job? That's exactly the challenge that Bill Armstrong has given them. If they're ready, they can start day one. They can be on the opening day roster, but it doesn't end there. They have to keep proving themselves, which I think is a good place to have your young prospects, your young kids, be in.
Did anybody help themselves as much as the Mammoth in the offseason in the West? I'm kind of looking through it, and it seems like the Mammoth did as much as improvement as anybody, but I would lean on your expertise.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Sharks are trying to take another step. They've realized that they've got an absolute generational talent in a guy like Macklin Celebrini, and they just weren't close enough last year to close the gap and get into the playoffs. And so I think that they've made some moves. I don't know that they've done anything that's going to make them a legitimate threat in the playoffs, but they may have closed the gap enough to make that push and to get into the postseason. Just kind of looking over the rest of the teams. I mean, I think the guy, the top dogs haven't done a lot because they're not really in
they just held
positions to do
serve.
so.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado is not in a position to get better. The Vegas Golden Knights not really in a position to get better. The Dallas Stars not in a position to really get that much better. We'll see, if anything ends up happening with Robertson, if they're able to trade him. But yeah, I think that as far as the West goes, if you look at the teams and what Utah's been able to do, I'd say that they're a team that has certainly taken this offseason as seriously as possible. And they've had some really solid additions that should only further, their chances to not only get back to the playoffs, but like I talked about earlier, I think that they have done enough to really put themselves in a position to win, at least a series next spring.
Well, we appreciate your time, Cole. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. Looking forward to catching up with you again down the line, but appreciate you willing to be able to join us on a moment's notice. This John Marino thing certainly was a big deal, and as this roster continues to come together, October can't get here quick enough.
Yeah, should be a fun year. Every season we've gone back, Utah's just continued to improve, and so it's getting more and more exciting, more and more fun as management and the team they've taken it seriously. I mean, this is a team that's they're not just here to play hockey games; they're here to win hockey games and eventually lift a Stanley Cup. So we'll see what they're capable of.
Let's go! Thanks, Cole. Appreciate it.
Thanks, boys.
There he is, Cole Bagley, KSL Sports and 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, NHL Mammoth Insider. Does a tremendous job.
Everything I've looked at, I really do. I think you look at the Blackhawks, and they've tried to add something around Bedard, but I really do think he mentioned San Jose. Anaheim didn't do a ton. I think the Mammoth have done more with more.
Yes.
They already had a great team, but I think they've addressed all the rough edges and concerns. I'm excited to see this group. Now, it's all got to transpire on the ice, right? We were all excited about Peterka, and as Bill said, sometimes it just doesn't fit. So hopefully everything clicks.
All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We'll talk some Washington Huskies coming up at 1:05. We'll also spin the wheel, a little sports roulette coming up at 1:30. It's all straight ahead. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Now I know y'all are tripping.
Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's kind of a miss.
No, Tainted Love's good.
Nah, I don't know. I'm not feeling this one.
With that.
You never really know how a song's going to play on radio until it actually plays. And then I'm like, yeah.
You got me over here rolling around in my chair just because I have.
You haven't had a song the coach doesn't like. So that's good. You're winning.
The only one I didn't like that Jethro Tull when you played.
Really?
You didn't like it because it wasn't
kidding.
Aqualung?
No, it wasn't Jethro Tull.
Yeah, I know.
I learned that on the guitar for you, though. I'm going to riff it and play it for you just as a comedy one night.
I need the whole thing, too.
Aqualung. I like how Aqualung's the thing tearing this show apart. Of all the things.
Well,
that's going to become my nickname.
He's got more than Aqualung.
Jethro. It's not even Jethro Tull. Oh, jeez.
Sitting on a park bench.
Yeah, so today's my playlist. Tomorrow will be Lloyd, and then Thursday, Alex. Did I get that right?
You did.
Okay, good.
I did.
It does feel, and this is a compliment, like a roller rink 80s night.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
I like the vibe. I've enjoyed every song.
No deep cuts. Just, and this is a little leftover. Last week was my 80s no deep cut list, and there's some late hangovers there.
Oh, I'm looking through some 80s soundtracks right now.
I can't wait because I like try to guess it.
The movie?
Do Weird Science. That's a good one.
Science.
Weird Science.
That will be somewhere, but the thing is, once I play Weird Science, it'll kind of give it away.
Oingo Boingo sang that one, didn't they?
Yes.
Yes. Oingo Boingo.
That's what they used to play at jazz games at the Tip.
Oh,
Dead
yeah.
Man's Party.
Yeah.
With Carl and John.
Yeah, Oingo Boingo was a, not a huge fan.
Not me. There was too much going on.
Yeah.
A little
busy.
Silence.
Silence is golden.
Oh, man. All right, coming up, we're going to talk a little Washington football. Jed Fish in year number, 3 at Washington?
Yes.
How that team will look going into next season, playing in the Big Ten because that still makes zero sense, but here we are.
That is just ask our guy, Muss. He'll tell you all about the travel woes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or not Musselman. What's the other?
The UCLA guy.
Farquaad.
Yeah. Mick
Cronin.
Yeah. Yeah, those dudes. I actually have a little bit of respect for him because in this day and age of everybody trying to be all PC and say the right thing, you got that generation of coach that are just like, man, I'm going to say whatever. I don't care.
Well, Bill said it. Everybody complains about their schedule, so why not?
So why not? Bill, he's like, look, if everybody else is going to complain, I'll complain. I don't like the fact that it's not balanced. I don't like the fact that we play 80% of our road games in the first 3 months of the season, it seems like.
But that's what it is. And it's like arguing with an official. It's not going to go like, oh, you're right. You're right. It was a charge. I'm going to take that off the board.
Have you ever had a ref go like, yeah, you know what? We screwed that up.
Best ones ever. Yeah, the great ones do that. And then the bad ones, though, they don't not only want to argue with you that was right, they want to penalize you next time.
Oh, yeah. They'll take it out on you because you try to show them up.
Yeah, the best ones come over. I got no issue. A guy comes over and is like, dude, I think we missed that one. I'll sit down and shut up the rest of the night because I know that at least I'm dealing with a human being.
Yeah.
Not Paul Blart.
There's plenty of those guys. All right, 1 o'clock hour coming up next. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Jazz, the Mammoth, and the Utes, Cougars, and Aggies. When it comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard, the coach. Tim LaComb, hour number 4 of the program. We'll talk a little Washington football as Christian Caple will join us coming up here in just a moment. University of Washington beat writer. Get his thoughts on this Husky team going into this upcoming season.
Aggies play them week 2 for them, September 12th at Husky Stadium. Scotty will, of course, be yelling as loud as he can.
Was supposed to go up there the year that COVID ran roughshod through the college football season. So missed an opportunity to call a game up there. But I've been to that stadium covering a game before, and you're hard-pressed to find a more scenic stadium than that one.
I like how people come in boats.
Yeah, it's called cellgating, where they'll just drive the boat right up or take a ferry in and walk right into the stadium.
Did you cover the Jan Jorgensen game?
No, it was a Utah State game before I was doing play-by-play. But yeah, that's a great place to watch a game.
Coach Rose went up with a group of boosters that for the trip when BYU had a controversial ending up there.
Yeah, that was the Jake Locker.
Yes,
yeah, the Jan Jorgensen.
Correct, that game.
Yeah,
Coach was there for that. It's so funny because the itinerary, Coach was having me look through it, and the night before the game, the band Holland Oates was going to play in Seattle, so they're taking the group to that. But on the itinerary, it was spelled like the high-ranking official, Holland. So it said Holland Oates.
That's the first name Holland, last name Oates. That's funny.
Had a good chuckle.
All right, joining us now, Christian Caple, writes on the University of Washington for On Montlake. Kind enough to hang out with us. Christian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Always a pretty high bar there in Washington. What are the expectations on this year's team?
Yeah, I think after they went 8-4 last year, with 3 of those 4 losses coming to Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon, the probably the 3 toughest games everybody could have circled preseason. I think the expectation is for them to be even more competitive against that caliber of opponent this year. They finished the year with back-to-back games against Indiana and Oregon. They go to USC. They go to Nebraska. They host Penn State. I think that those are kind of the caliber of game that folks have circled this year to see. Like, in 2024 when they played Oregon and Penn State and Indiana and Iowa, they got blown out. And last year when they played Ohio State and Michigan and those types of programs, they were kind of in it a little bit longer. And I think folks this year are expecting them to win a game or 2 like that.
Damon Williams has generated a ton of national attention. What do you feel like he's got to do to take the next step?
Yeah, I mean, it goes hand in hand with the way that the whole team performed against some of their elite opponents. If you look at his numbers in a loss to Ohio State, to Michigan, to Wisconsin, and to Oregon, he was, he looked like a different player than he did in their 8 or 9 wins, which I guess is probably true of a lot of quarterbacks around the country if you look at how they play in wins versus losses. But you definitely saw, against elite defenses and, defenses that are loaded with blue chip recruits and NFL draft picks and a lot of speed. The processing probably wasn't quite where you'd want it to be. The decision making wasn't where you'd want it to be. There were a couple turnovers in those games that proved really crucial. Just a bad fumble here, a bad interception there. And so I think they're looking for him to still be the dual threat playmaker that he was for most of the season, but to clean things up against and maybe see things a little bit better and make better decisions against some of those better defenses they play.
Look, I know the dust has cleared a little bit, but are people still trying to figure out this Washington in the Big Ten kind of thing?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think, Jedd Fisch has spent a lot of time this offseason and really since he's been there talking about the financial piece of it and just what it's going to cost from a player compensation standpoint to put together a roster that can compete and win in the Big Ten. And they've recruited at a really high level. I know Jedd Fisch already is kind of talking about the bill that's going to come due in December or January if they want to retain all the young guys that they're going to be relying on this year that they expect to be high-level players. I think they could end up with this new 5-to-play-5 rule. They could end up in like the single digits as far as seniors who are actually exhausting their eligibility. So, they're going to have the vast majority of their roster eligible to return. And, they kind of are looking at what that's going to cost to keep all those guys back relative to the rest of the Big Ten. And then also from a personnel standpoint and a roster construction standpoint, they knew they had to get bigger in the trenches. They knew they had to build depth there and try to build a team that physically looked like it belonged in the Big Ten for that style of play, which they feel like they're a lot closer to having this year.
One piece to replace, 7 draft picks last year, and wherever Jedd Fisch goes, man, there's talent, it seems like. But replacing Jonah Coleman will be a task. 4th-round pick to Denver. Your thoughts on the running game and who can step up and help replace him?
Yeah, that's really one of the few question marks as far as, who is going to take the first snap when the offense takes the field. Their personnel, their starting personnel is pretty set across the board other than running back and maybe one receiver spot and an offensive line spot. And, I think the coaching staff is very excited about and thinks very highly of Quade Carr, who's a second-year player from Servite High School in Anaheim. He was great in high school. He was a Trinity League MVP, I believe, who just kind of went under the radar in recruiting and was committed to San Diego State for a good while in the 2025 class before he flipped to Washington before signing day. And he's kind of got the speed and the quickness and the vision that they like there. They did, not just losing Jonah Coleman, but losing Adam Mohammed in the transfer portal to Cal. From the time he stepped on campus as a freshman in 2024, he kind of seemed like the heir apparent to Jonah Coleman after a couple of years, but he transferred. And so they went out and got Jaden Lamar, transfer from Oregon in the transfer portal, who's from around here, around the Seattle area originally. And folks here remember him as a 4-star recruit and everything coming out of Lake Stevens High School. And so I think they're going to rely on him for some of those, and third downs and pass protection and some of those things that you would look more to a veteran for as far as in the running game.
Jedd Fisch and play calling, I know, has always been kind of an issue. Where does that stand? Is he still the primary play caller going into this season?
He is, yeah. So I think he'll do that as long as he's coaching, frankly. I don't think that's a responsibility that he ever wants to give up. They've retooled their offensive staff a little bit, whereas he'd had Jimmy Doherty on his staff for a while. He had the offensive coordinator title, but of course Jedd Fisch has always been the play caller, and he coached the quarterbacks. He is out. They hired Matt Cavanaugh, a longtime NFL offensive coordinator, and former All-American himself as a quarterback at Pitt, to kind of be an offensive assistant as far as helping with game planning and situational stuff and just sort of giving Jedd Fisch a different set of eyes, kind of, who hasn't hasn't coached with him and doesn't come from his system necessarily, and just sort of a fresh perspective on certain things offensively. And he'll, I imagine, would also work a little bit with Damon Williams. J.P. Lossman was promoted to coach the quarterback, so they actually don't have a coach on staff with an offensive coordinator title this year.
Washington, in my mind, returns one of the better defensive cores in the conference too. Guys that can run and get after the quarterback, a secondary that can hold things down. Feel like this can be kind of the differentiator, the defense. You talked about the offensive explosiveness, but could this be the piece that vaults them into a possible championship game in terms of the league?
Yeah, I think their defense was pretty solid last year, and I think there's every expectation that they'll be a little bit better this season. They've turned over almost the entire interior D-line room, but I think they feel better about the talent there overall. Those guys look pretty good in the spring. I think they feel like they're deeper at edge rusher, although, they're going to need a guy or two to really step up and lead that pass rush. They weren't great at getting to the quarterback last year, and I think they have a pretty talented secondary. And Jed Fish and their defensive coordinator, Ryan Walters, and their linebackers coach have all talked about this linebacker group like it's one of the best that they've ever been around at the college level. And so I think they very much expect linebacker to be the strength of the team and feel like they're talented throughout. And, I think their defense gave them a chance against everybody last year. They did not give up more than 26 points in a game. And, I think that's going to be the case again this year. So, there are lots of questions still around, hey, who's going to be that big, physical down the field X receiver to replace Denzel Boston? What's the running game going to look like? And, can Damon Williams Jr. kind of take the next step against great defenses? And, I think that's going to kind of determine the ceiling for this team, because I think the defensive talent is pretty solid. And I think, having another year in Ryan Walters' system and having that continuity and now having constructed that roster to his schematic preferences and everything, I think they're expecting big things out of that side of the ball.
So I should know this, but what is I know they're playing this year. Is there a long-term future in place for the Apple Cup, or is that kind of on pins and needles? And is there a desire from the Washington side to keep that rivalry going?
Yeah, it's up in the air. They signed a 5-year agreement beginning in 2024, so that goes through 2028. So there's at least 2 more coming after this year, both on campus. So Pullman in 2026 and Seattle in 2028. Pullman in 2027 and Seattle in 2028. And, I think so much is undecided about, future realignment and what are the leagues even going to look like, and what's the league schedule going to look like, and what teams are you going to be kind of required to play on an annual basis? What's the future of non-conference scheduling? Do you want to have some sort of SEC crossover if you're a Big Ten team? Do you want to have some sort of Power 4 round robin like Jed Fish has sort of talked about? I think there's too many variables for them to really know with any certainty right now. I think the higher up in the university and in the state you go, I think you have more willingness to kind of keep it going just as sort of a showcase for the state. And, hey, who wouldn't want Washington and Washington State to play each other every year, just, in a general sense. But, we'll kind of see what it looks like in the Pac-12 for Washington State and what makes sense for them too, right? If this is a program that's feels like it can be at the top of that league and compete for that league's championship, and feels like, having a more manageable schedule in the non-conference gives them a better chance to maybe go undefeated and get into the playoff. And that's another factor, right? Is it going to expand to 24 teams or more than 12 at some point? And what's that going to look like for a league like the Pac-12? So I think so many things are still up in the air. It's pretty hard to forecast it out beyond the current through 2028.
Who's a name up there, a part of the team that, we haven't heard a ton about that we will? Somebody you feel like will make an impact that isn't necessarily somebody that's on anybody's radar.
Yeah, I mentioned him, but I would say Quade Carr at running back.
Okay.
I think the way that the coaching staff has talked about him, and also he was really of the main competitors for that job, and I guess for some share of reps there. He was the only guy who was healthy all spring. So he took a lot of the number 1 reps throughout the spring. And, Jaden Lamar is a veteran. He was recovering from an off-season surgery. He'll be back healthy that's not really who spring practice is for anyway, right? But they brought in another veteran transfer, Trey Cooley, who I'm sure will get his opportunity there too. But I just in terms of LaQuade Carr is a guy that this staff recruited. They identified him. They liked what they saw from him in practices last year. I think would have liked to have gotten him going a little bit more late in the season, but he had a sprained ankle that sort of held him back. But he was healthy all spring. They loved what he did in the spring. I would not be surprised if he's their starter this year. And, I think they kind of see him as the guy, at least for 2026, who's probably got the highest ceiling.
So I know you touched on it a little earlier, but, if your wife comes home and says she's going to leave you, and then another day later she goes, I changed my mind. We're good, and I'm just going to hang out with you and the kids, and everything's going to be fine. There's still going to be a certain level of awkwardness in the house for a while. How has things been with Damon Williams since I'm going to leave? No, I'm coming back. Is that just water under the bridge, or is there still some lingering feelings there?
I think internally it's water under the bridge. College football is a pro sport now.
Yeah.
For better or worse, it's just the way it is. You took a poll of all the guys in that locker room. I would imagine most have agents, and most probably made their decision coming out of high school based on financial numbers that were put in front of them. Might not have been the most important thing for every guy, but it's at least a consideration. And, I think it's pretty well documented by now that the opportunity he was considering leaving for was going to pay him a couple million more dollars. And I think that guys that age are going to understand more than anybody that well, geez, if you put that much more money in front of me, I don't know what I would do either. Right. So I think if you're in that building, you understand it's a business, and these things happen. And I think, the way that Jed Fish has kind of talked about it is, hey, lots of schools lost their quarterback and are starting over, and just focus on the fact that we didn't, right? So I think it's and understandably so a tougher thing for fans to get past, right? And so I think his performance early in the season is going to go a long way toward how people sort of look at that. But they had a spring game, they had fans out there. I don't know that I heard anybody booing him at the spring game, so. It all kind of just comes down to, do you win? Do you play well? And that tends to dictate how these things go.
Looking at the schedule, what are your thoughts on it? It looks like, a rivalry game right out of the gate, and Bronco Mendenhall is always a little sneaky. So those will be interesting games, but your just general thoughts about the schedule and how it lays out.
Yeah, it was real top heavy and bottom heavy for them in the Big Ten last year. So you mentioned Ohio State and Oregon and Michigan, but they also played, I think, 4 of the 5 Big Ten teams that didn't get bowl eligible. And you didn't really have that middle, right? Every game was either an opponent you knew was going to be really tough, who you're probably going to be an underdog against, or a team that you should definitely beat. This year, the middle portion of the schedule, the could go either way portion of the schedule, is a lot bigger. They go to USC on October 3rd. They're probably going to be underdogs there, but that's still going to be seen as a winnable game, or at least a game that they're going to have to win to stay in CFP contention through November. They host Iowa 6 days later, right? That's another tough game, but a game that you definitely would think they'd have a chance to win at home. They go to Nebraska. A very winnable game, but also not the easiest place to play on Halloween also, for whatever that's worth. And they host, a Penn State team that I think is a little bit in wait and see, first year under Matt Campbell and new roster and everything. But it's still Penn State. And so that's a game that I'm sure Penn State will have an expectation to win, and Washington will have an expectation to win. So that sort of middle portion of the schedule is a lot bigger this year. Is the top third as tough as it was a year ago? Closing with the defending national champion and Oregon, a team that I think a lot of people are probably going to pick to be national champion or compete for it this year. That's really tough. You look at the first 10 games they play, and there's not a single one that you circle and go, oh, well, there's just no way they can win that game. But there are a bunch that they could certainly lose as well.
So hosting a show here in Salt Lake City when Utah got into the Pac-12, I guess we're looking at about 15 years ago, we got introduced to the teams around the Pac-12, and you know them and you watch them, but then when you actually cover them, you start to learn some things about them. And, the joke was always, USC, the University of Spoiled Children. But then there was a lot of people that we talked to said, hey, be careful about Washington fans because USC fans may get the bad rap, but it's Washington fans that can be a little bit overzealous in their expectations for their team year in and year out. Is that a fair assessment that sometimes the eyes get a little bigger than the stomach in terms of fans in Washington and what they expect out of their team every year?
Maybe a little bit. I think that the Don James era definitely instilled a different standard that the program has not often lived up to in the now, 30 plus years since. But at the same time, in 2016, they won the Pac-12 and made a 4-team college football playoff. In 2023, they won the Pac-12, went undefeated in the regular season, and made the national championship game. So the highs have been high enough that I think folks do have a certain expectation. And, you can go back and look at for a period of 30 years there from the 80s through the early 2000s or whatever, average AP ranking and winning percentage and stuff. And, they were high enough and among sort of not the very upper class of college football, but enough that I think it instilled a reasonable expectation that they should win at a pretty decent clip. And so, I think it's a little bit of a recalibration going to the Big Ten, and, finishing 5th in the Pac-12 was never going to be seen as a good year, right? But if you finish 5th in this Big Ten, you probably had a pretty good season. Mm-hmm. The same idea that a lot of people are going to have to get used to if there ever is a super league, right? I mean, if you ever make a league of 24 or 32 of all the top brands in college football, somebody's going to have to go 4-8. Who's used to 8-4 being a bad season. So I think there's a little bit of expectation reset necessary for the Big Ten, but also, they made the decision to leave the Pac-12 and go to the Big Ten, and they're paying their head coach more than they've ever paid a head coach, and everyone knows their starting quarterback's getting paid $4 million+ this year, and so there's, I think that being understood, there's a little bit of a hey, go out and prove it.
So Utah State, I do the play-by-play for Utah State. They'll be up there early September. I'll hit you up for some. Look, it's Seattle. You can't go wrong with any restaurants up there, I'm sure. But trying to find a good solid list, I'll probably pick your brain a bit. Okay.
Hey, I'm all for it. I live in Tacoma, so I might tell you to get in the car and head south a few miles.
Well,
I guess you could find somewhere to eat in Seattle.
I mean, that's the thing. I just don't want to get too touristy. You want to find the places that nobody really talks about that much. So there you go. Hey, well, we appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Looking forward to seeing you up there in September, and we'll talk again here very soon.
All right, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Good stuff. Christian Caple, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, covers the University of Washington on Montlake. All right. Fired up. I love that stadium. I love the Pacific Northwest. Love Seattle.
Just hit up a teppanyaki. Be good.
Well, I was just going to say, hey, don't make a big production. He doesn't eat anyway.
That's...
could I get a napkin and a toothpick and perhaps a bean?
Barbecue. Try some barbecue. What are the Seattle barbecue scenes
I'm sure there's a great Seattle barbecue.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I bet there's an Irishman that came over here and decided to throw one up in Tacoma. Give it a rip.
Yeah, let's go for that. Let's see how that is. No, I think that's a team that has a chance to be pretty good. Yep.
Yeah, they look really good. I mean, the schedule's tough though, because Washington State. That's regardless of the situation, that's that weird game. And then I just wouldn't want Bronco Mendenhall early in a year. I just he's gonna, not that Utah State will go up there and beat them, but they go play teams really hard. They have a plan. They're focused. They make you feel it, and if you do beat them, you earn it.
Well, the other thing, too, from Utah State's perspective, it's a rough schedule in terms of the fact that you've got Washington and Utah back-to-back. And, yeah.
Physical city.
I did not that does not bode well for your long-term health prognosis going into Pac-12 play.
That is the biggest concern. Obviously, you want to win games, but
yeah,
he talked about it earlier. I mean, it's going to be the teams that can stay healthy, that can weather the storm. The quarterback doesn't get knocked out. running back is able to get back up after he's hit. That stuff is so big. And we all talk about it as if it doesn't happen. I mean, it happens all the time. So depth is a thing.
I've seen it multiple times. There was a year that Utah State was pretty good. Jordan Love's last year at Utah State. They went to LSU in early October, and that was the Joe Burrow National Championship LSU team. It was crazy hot that day. Even the locals were complaining about how hot it was for an October game, and Utah State just got wrecked physically in that game. The game actually wasn't. I've seen some crazy blowouts. It wasn't a terrible blowout, but just physicality standpoint took a toll. And they were never the same again after that. Like, those are the games you worry about setting you back for the entire season. And sure, I know it's a day and age where you need the paycheck and you need the money and the revenue and everything that comes along with it. But, boy, you just got to make sure that you can keep your team together in some way, shape, or form.
Is Hillstead looking to be the guy?
Hillstead has been named the starter going into fall. And so I would be shocked if he is not your day one starter. But look, I love McKay. I think he is a phenomenal athlete. He will leave everything out on the field. But at the end of the day, he's still, 5'10", and you worry about him and his health and his durability, especially with what the schedule looks like the early part of the season.
Yeah, when he's protected, when he's got time.
Yeah.
But that's the big issue is a lot of things. That's what I love about football. Everybody's got a job to do. And you watch it, and if somebody gets beat, then somebody's got to get into plan B and come across and block them. I mean, talk about communicating on the radio and knowing who's on what page. Football is the king of that because you have to do it in such split-second decisions.
All right, 1:30 coming up next. We'll spin the wheel. Sports Roulette straight ahead right here on The Zone. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Garrard alongside Tim LaComb. Stephen A. Smith's making an appearance on General Hospital. Wow. Okay.
I think he's made a couple.
Tank top. Looks like he's hat backwards, going to shoot a little ball.
Yeah.
He and Ryan Clark must work out together. They both long workouts.
Maybe. Did
you just see that backwards shot?
Yeah, I just saw it. Oh, I wonder how many takes that took.
How did it look? I missed it. Was
no,
it
judging by his awkward shot that I've seen at some of the All-Star games, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Sure,
that was one where he flipped it up in the air, and then they had another angle where somebody was up above dropping it in the hoop. I
barely made a layup.
The Teen Wolf stuff.
Are you and I going to be able to transition this into I don't know, Real Housewives of Salt Lake or something like that? Like, are we going to make an appearance or something? Like, we got.
What should we be on? I think probably could be on that cooking show with that guy. I don't know. There's a cooking show on KSL. Just walk into the kitchen.
We should just walk downstairs and just show up on that thing every now and then. Like
during football season, I feel like it needs to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean,
why not?
We've had guests come early on the stream. Just look around. We could go down there and do it.
I mean, we could have them come up if they want to hang out with us. We go down there,
and I'm not talking about like Nate bringing the camera to the kitchen, your guys' kitchen, and seeing what you got. No, get you guys down in that kitchen.
Look, I freaking made a ton of barbecue. I think I can show up in the old KSL kitchen downstairs and whip up a few things. We could do some damage down there.
I'll just be your sous chef.
Yeah. Well, come on. Let's make
you're
this
more
happen.
than a sous chef.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on.
Seriously, like outside of a beehive mill, you could do some damage in the kitchen.
I really can't, fellas. I'm just being honest with you. It's canned soup, pasta.
Stop it.
No, I'm serious. I don't have any. You don't want me anywhere near any. But I can. Hey, Scotty, give me a list of ingredients, and I'll get them to the nines.
Okay, so you'll make the run, the grocery store run.
Absolutely, and then if you need me to mix stuff, you call for a half pound of this.
How did it go again?
It's our Iron Chef over here, man.
Who needs sound effects when you got Tim?
All right, let's get to it. Lloyd, fire up that wheel.
Road rage at the Tour de France.
Brandon McNulty. Thank God. He's unhurt. but had a little pre-time trial. Got in a little confrontation on his way to the line by just an anonymous person, nothing to do with the race, but basically confronted and caused the McNulty to collide with the vehicle.
Well, the guy's out there running the biggest bike race in the world.
Did you say Nick McNulty?
No, it's his brother Brandon.
Okay.
Nick, of course, the famous chef.
Yes.
No, I have nothing. I don't know who Nick is. He's just messing with me.
No, come on, Nick Nolte. Come on,
right?
Nick
I know
Nolte.
Nick Nolte, but
okay, Mick Nolte. My
Nolte.
bad.
Nick
I
McNulty,
reached way too far. I'm sorry.
That was the neighbor across from DJ where he grew up.
So this is classic Lloyd here.
Just
Is
blow up a
that
story.
he has a bad joke? You call him on it, and then he makes you feel bad for calling him out on a bad joke.
I'm sorry. I thought Nick McNulty was pretty good.
I'm sorry. I thought you guys had a sense of humor. That's my bad.
Thought you did.
My bad. I was missing the point.
I'll be better.
I had no idea where he was going with it either.
You knew that you got the Nick McNulty. Come on.
48 hours. I don't know where you were going with that.
The good news is
Roxanne
McNulty, not Nick Nolte, but Brandon McNulty. He's unhurt and he's scheduled to get back out on the bike on Tuesday. So no harm, no foul. If you're an idiot out there that road rages, take a deep breath and don't do it. It ends in travesty nearly every time.
Have you seen that recent bike crash of the like? It almost looks like a Tour de France type race. The guy runs into like a rascal scooter. Have you seen that? I'm serious.
I have not.
I'm gonna find it, and somebody accidentally went a little bit too far out into the road and bike right
Like
into
a
the
jazzy scooter?
rascal. Yes, like a jazzy scooter.
Like the driving around Costco thing. Okay.
Do you ever get one of those?
No, I'm
Which one
feeling
you-
like it
you
now
should
though
with
with my leg. Got to go to the doctor after the show.
I think he's got some old sports injuries.
Got my old
Shins.
I think it's just shin splint. I don't know. Yeah, you probably
that doesn't sound. That doesn't feel or sound like shin
No,
splints.
I've never had a shin splint feel like a rubber band. It's about to pop. So get to the doctor.
It's never a good sign when you go to work and you're and you tell your coworker hey, can you feel this injury? Come over here and put your hand on this thing and see if this feels as weird as
And it's on the bone, and it feels like a frayed rubber band is about to snap. It just it's like you feel it pull
It's on
back.
my shin,
Yes,
and
it's on your shin,
and I'm moving my toe back and forth, and it feels like something's about ready to pop, like it needs a little WD-40 in there or something.
The only guy I've ever known that had that was Nick McNulty.
Yeah, and we saw how that turned out for him. Not well. All right, spin it, Lloyd.
Jordan Brooks money, or should I say Banks?
Should we say Jordan Brooks or should I say Banks?
Oh, sorry. I just saw
That's okay.
that.
No, it's good.
My bad.
I'm new at the typing them in, so I take note, hashtag. No, Jordan Brooks just got a boatload of money, rightfully so. One of the bright young stars on the defensive side in the NFL. Signed a $51.3 million extension.
Whew.
So if you need any money, don't go to the Brooks, go to the Banks.
Yeah, I would say so.
That he's loaded up. But I love watching him fly around. That's an impact player.
No, there's no doubt about that.
And I love the uniform. That might be the best uniform in the biz. The aqua, the white. Yeah, you with me?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know what? I'm on board with that.
The teal.
Yeah.
I just dig it. Beautiful uni.
Yeah. All right, Lloyd, fire it up.
Ain't that hard.
Scotty, you like to golf. Lloyd, do you like to golf too?
We all enjoy a good round of golf.
Yeah, do. Absolutely.
Ryan Fox, he broke through, won the British, but he's going to become the face of something else that I think golf needs in a bad way.
A new trend. Yes, I agree.
The guys that stand back there with their freaking T-square, trying to figure out the lay of the land. Hit the ball, and Ryan Fox has become the new face of playing quick.
Just play fast. Who cares?
Do you have the time on how quick he putted from when Sam Burns' ball went in the cup.
Wasn't it like 6 seconds?
Total from when he hit that ball. No, it wasn't that fast, but it was pretty quick.
22
seconds.
Okay. When he approached, I know he just stepped over.
It was 22 seconds. As soon as Sam Burns' ball went in the cup, the clock started. He went and grabbed it, pulled it out, and he was lining up and ready to go.
22 seconds. That's unheard of. And it was a 12-foot putt too, right? I mean, this wasn't like a gimme. And the fact is, he's like, no, I'm ready to go. And he said earlier, it was like, it's not that hard. I don't know why we're overthinking it. Just line up and let her rip.
He was on McAfee today. He said, my routine is quick. Everything in my head works fast. I see the shot, make the decision fast, and then my routine is fast. I'm glad I kept the same thing with a chance to win a major. It would have been real easy to get out of that routine, but that's what I've done my whole career.
Don't overthink it. How many times do you take a practice swing, and then you take another one, and then like, oh, that was it right there. But then you take another practice swing and it's off. So you try to recapture that magic on that second one, and then before you know it, you got people yelling at you behind you because you're too scared to swing because you can't. It doesn't feel right anymore.
I don't get anything out of a practice swing. I feel like I do it because everybody else does it.
You know what? I think you're right. Actually,
I just step up and whack the dang ball.
Here's the amazing golf ball whacker guy.
He plays faster than anyone.
Grip it and rip it, baby. All right.
But I play horrible golf, so I've never shot 74.
You know what? Here's the thing. I don't think that's true. You and I have not played golf yet, but I have a sneaking
I feel like
suspicion.
you're setting something up.
I think our dude's a ringer here.
I'm not.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm capable of hitting a good shot every now and again, far from a ring.
I bet you've shot a 79 before.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
See,
that's all we need to know.
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's all I needed to know. Okay.
Yeah. It's in you, though. All right. One more, Lloyd. Spin it.
You know where you live, right?
So, Wyoming football coach Jay Sawvell had some comments at the Mountain West Conference Media Days. Of course, those going on earlier in the week, and a lot of people bringing up the new Pac-12, the teams that have left, because this is the first year where there is a good number of those Mountain West teams that are no longer there. So he said that it's a better feel around the Mountain West Conference Media Days this year as opposed to last year. He said, quote, a year ago, there was just this cloud, right? We come to these media days, and it was like, okay, there's those guys, and then there's these guys. Now we don't have those guys. They're out, and they can do whatever they want now. They can go join a team in Pullman, Washington. I mean, have you ever been to Pullman? Like, what's there? What's going on there in Pullman? Nothing. Okay, it's one thing if you say that if you're the head coach of San Diego State. It's the one thing if you say that you're the head coach at Colorado State. Fort Collins is right down the road from Denver. You could even say that if you're the head coach at Nevada. I mean, Reno, there's plenty of stuff. It may not be great stuff, but at least there's stuff going on. You can't make fun of Pullman, Washington if you're the head coach of Wyoming in Laramie, Wyoming. It just feels like there's a bit of hypocrisy there.
Oh, big time. I've been to both, and I would say the only difference is altitude.
Yeah, and Pullman's cleaner. Like, Laramie feels like it's like, meh. I mean, I get it. Like, Pullman, with the two times that I've called games in Pullman, both times, there was not enough hotel space for the football team to stay there. They stayed in Idaho. I can't remember the city over there. It wasn't Moscow. It was somewhere else. But anyway, like there wasn't enough hotel space to host the team there. So yes, Pullman, very small town. Not a lot going on. He's not wrong, but you can't really say that when you're coaching in Laramie. Like it's like, come on. You're not the entertainment capital of the world there in Laramie.
Yeah, I mean, now playing Laramie, David Lee Roth.
That would be a place there David might make a stop.
And Dave, if you're listening today, I apologize. I loved you when you were young, but
he might be. He's here.
I know he is. Time to take the leather off, baby.
I mean, literally, don't wear leather anymore. You're at that age. You just can't be doing
Panama! Yeah, like that.
I feel bad. For the dude.
But you're right. There, no prize. I think if you put Pullman and Laramie in kind of a pick one or the other, I think you get a lot of opt-outs.
No.
Neither.
Yeah. All right. We'll wrap up this bad boy next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Best thing that's ever happened to you financially. Go.
Easy. Sold my car on Carvana. Amazing offer.
Really? I hit 200 on the scratcher.
Did the scratcher come to your house and hand you a check?
No.
How many scratchers did you hit to get that? I hit a button on Carvana.com once.
Okay, that's fair.
It's like the lottery, except you always win.
Not like the lottery at all, actually.
Exactly. Inexplicably good. Offers worth bragging about. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to shut this thing down for the day, I guess.
I'll talk to you. See you.
That was one of the best exits ever. You heard that when I was with DJ, how he signed off? Listen to this.
Like the professional that knows how to lead shows.
Like we're going off
Yeah.
segment.
This is how he closed with Tim. I'll talk to you. See you.
Wow,
And I
really?
kind of looked at Lloyd and he was like,
I was like, wait, is that a break?
let's hit it.
We're out. Okay. I like it.
Don't leave me hanging, man. You can't expose me to the wild like that.
You did just fine.
Oh, yeah.
Is
No,
that
you're
all right?
fine. You're
Okay,
fine.
That was all
Great.
planned. It was the next step.
Yeah. No, you're all
I
good.
feel like I'm hiking with you two.
All right. By the way,
See if you can do that little ridge over there.
Utah has a new quarterback. UMass transfer quarterback Brandon Rose has committed to Utah. So Brandon Rose started at Utah, went to UMass, and now is coming back to Utah. So there you go.
To add depth to the quarterback rotation.
Is it really a rotation? Isn't there a place where they congregate to come together and talk
They
about
might
things?
have like a film area.
Oh,
So
really?
To that
Like
film.
maybe a part of a building, maybe a specific area that they all come to?
Quarterback wing.
I think it's more of a maybe wing is too big. Maybe it's a
Smaller, yeah.
smaller
Studio.
area.
Quarterback
Maybe
studio.
bigger than that. I'm
All
thinking
right.
maybe
All
like
right.
an actual
I'll do it just one time. The quarterback room.
a quarterback room. There you go.
That feels right.
But I
That
hate
feels
how
right.
it's overplayed.
Feels right.
See, I work with Jake, so little things irritate me that shouldn't, right? Like he teaches me that skill.
We added depth to the
I've 82 games with him, so we find things that irk us.
Morgan Scally. We added depth to our quarterback room.
Did he say that?
No.
Oh gosh.
But I'm sure somebody will say that throughout the course of the
It'll
the
get
day.
asked.
Well, our quarterback rotation's a little more solid.
I don't know what you're talking about. Jake Scott does not appear like a guy that gets annoyed at little teeny things and would become actively angry about them. He doesn't seem like he's that kind of a
No,
person.
our whole quest is just how can we aggravate David? That's the whole thing.
David Locke?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
How
I
do
thought we
we
were talking
how do
about
we
James
prop
for a
up
sec.
the greatness of Ron Bruce Boone and mess with David Locke? That's really 82 game agenda.
Look, you guys haven't had a lot of wins to talk about.
You got to have a side game.
You guys will have some fun there. You got to find a way to make things enjoyable.
And that we do. We laugh. I'll tell you what, he and I laugh until my sides split. I seriously, the season is hard to get through, but it's kind of like, you have a baby and you forget about it for a while and then the baby's crying again. That's kind of how the season feels, but we get through it with laughter.
It was hard to get through. Like it
Yeah,
was.
now it should be.
No,
much,
it's going to be
much
fun
better.
still, but it's a grind.
Oh,
Don't
no,
kid
there's
yourself.
no doubt
You
about
know that.
Oh, yeah. All right, that wraps it up for us. Speaking of Jake Scott, Ben Anderson coming up next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.